Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
We're live. Over to that side is Mr. Benny Griffin. It's backwards on this screen. And then on that side is Antidote of a Houndsman, Chris.
Brush my hair.
Watson, look at him. He looks all.
I know.
You look like, you know what you look like? You remind me of one of those cult leaders, like where you have like a following, like all these women that just follow you around.
Maybe I do. Maybe you might see me on 60 Minutes someday.
60 Minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Anything that happened interesting this week? Mr. Benny, tell me a good story.
I got to work all weekend moving dirt for my son. A pad a concrete pad for his kids to have a place to play on outside of the dirt and the stickers and the caliche and stuff. So that's what I got to do all weekend. Hey, look, I'm frozen again.
You're frozen again. Somebody stealing your internet.
I'm gonna have to get my spear after my first wife.
Man, I would.
Gotta go.
What, Mr. Chris? Anything interesting happening to you?
I elk hunted.
Sorry, guys. Elk hunting.
Did you just give me the prehistoric hand?
Yeah, I did something wrong.
You did. You gave me the hand.
No, I was doing this. Since Benny's frozen again. Look at all these people. Chuck Miller, he's here early.
Chuck, why aren't you on with us?
Mike Gray, Louisiana Hunt. We need to line up Chuck. He needs to come on and tell us some stories someday. Now, tonight we got, at 6 o'clock, we got Jeff Allen, Utah Houndsman. I've heard about Jeff since I started with hounds. And then at 7 o'clock, we got Calvin Redhouse joining us for a little while. He's got an answer about calling us all ugly.
Oh, he does.
So what'd you do? What'd you have elk hunting? Did you?
Oh, it's over the counter tag. So.
Did you whack one?
No, I didn't even see none. They got them pretty.
Now he's froze. What's going on? He's gone. Look at him. We can't even hear him.
This is a tag team. This is relay.
It's not my internet because I don't have anything to do with that. It's y'all's.
You need to give us a back feed and let us have some of your good internet.
I wish I could ship some over to you. Because that's the only reason I have this office in town is to have good internet. Because I don't have good internet at home. I don't think I could do this, and like uploading my videos and stuff would take, hours. But since Chris has Starlink, and he's up until now, he's had pretty good luck with it. I've been building me an office, I've been building me an office. I'm having somebody build me an office out at the house, and I'm going to get Starlink, and that way I don't have a 20-minute drive to go home. Zane Hoy Outdoors, Louisiana Hunting. I wonder if George is going to join us. I know John sent a message and said that he had some kind of special church service tonight, and George might be going to that too. So, I don't know. I do not know. Might just be me and you, Benny.
Well, Jeff Allen will show up. He'll figure.
Yeah. If not, we'll make fun of each other or something. I didn't. I went someplace. There's a south of the interstate, and I'm sure you've seen it driving up and down 10 before Benny, before Deming, those mountains out there close to Mexico, the
Yeah.
Potrillos. And I went out there years ago. There was a rancher that called me and said he had a lion that killed a calf in a set of shipping pins out there, or gathering pins, I guess. And of course, he called me 2 days later, or 2 days after it had been done, and I trailed that lion by sight out across the desert there. Dogs couldn't bark on it, but I could find his tracks. It was almost like hunting in the snow. Sorry, but because of the sand, you could just see the tracks, And Viastat, I'm getting sidetracked. My ADD. But I'd never been out there, so I went out. First, I went out to what they call Providence Cone or Rattlesnake Rock, and I walked around it. I've been sharing these on my other channel. I've been sharing these petroglyphs that I find, and I had heard that there were some on it. Besides that, it's like this island in the middle of the desert, and I know that lions leave the Floridas. You know how a lion is. They see a big old mountain out there by itself. They got to go visit it. So I went out there. Spent a day, and then the next day I went down. I figured out how to get down in the Potrillos, and I went down there, and I took a bunch of dogs and my mules that time. Took a pack mule, and I packed into them. Now I've lost everybody, guys. I don't know. The haints are out today, so I just. Hey, I'm a ball on a cold track. I chop when I get it jumped. Benny's coming back. Chris left us. He's got Starlink. I guess he's adjusting the antenna, or maybe Elon turned it off for an afternoon. So, anyway, man, I was all on my own. Benny scared me.
I saw that.
Res Hounds, there he is. He's got to pay for it later on. We get to look at his big old ugly mug.
He's been on the go. I talked to John Klump last week, and he's been down there trailing again, down off the Taylor place, and that those two fuzzy dogs. That one, what did he call him? Hoot. The one that was really go-getter, that he had to stitch his whole face up.
Mm-hmm.
He got killed by a Coatimundi.
Cut his throat out?
Yep.
And they do it.
I guess all the dogs got on that Coatimundi and killed the Cody. So,
is it true? Now, does the Cody get a hold of the dog, and then when the other dogs pull on the Cody, it rips the dog's throat out?
I don't have a clue.
I'd heard that once before, but I had a dog that had his throat cut out. Good dog, too. Coyotes are us. Just saying, hey, from Wisconsin.
Man, ship me some curds.
Turds?
Curds.
Oh,
cheese.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Man, I guess we lost Chris. He didn't take. He took that. His cult following made him get offline. Let me send him a message here. See if I can figure out what's going on. Yeah, so I went down there and I rode. There he is. And I rode a big old circle the first day. Are you okay, Chris?
Don't know what happened. My Starlink just said, nah.
Did you make Elon mad?
Well, last time I seen Benny, he was like this, and he looked all precious, and I think my internet failed. I think it put it in the shock.
But anyway, I went out there. I was pretty proud of myself. I went to an old set of pins out there, had an old line shack out there, and they had a solar panel. And the wires were cut, and the ends were all rusty. They'd been cut for a long time, but the wires ran over to a little well there. And that's one of the problems out there. There's no water anywhere. I mean, all the dirt tanks are dry and everything. So I took a panel. Those wires were way up there on that pole. And I took an old panel and put it up against the post and climbed up there and wired the wires together, and the pump started pumping water. It pumped warm water too, not cold water, warm water. And so I had a way to water my mules. I fixed the pen. I keep my mules in. I camped there and stayed there and rode around, and it was all right. I don't ever see any reason to go back. I mean, there's a lot of deer out there and everything, and I'm sure lions get out there, but I don't think you'd have to be just right to trail them. I mean, it's just sand, you know. It's kind of like what you said, Larry said about over there by the hatchets. You know,
Yeah.
you could probably trail them up on the rims or on the ledges and stuff, but then they go down and out and go across that sand or go across that greasewood and everything, and you're done.
Yeah, it's not too good.
No, there's better places. I enjoyed it. I don't see any reason to go back. How come my name is under you?
They did that last time too.
And we don't even see Benny's name.
On
Stolen
magnetic.
identity. Stolen identity.
Hey, you know, I was thinking the other day, everybody put in their thoughts for naming this show, and only that one night, it's all just dropped by it. You know, it's kind of like everybody going after each other in politics. As soon as there's a deflection, that you just forget about it.
You mean for the name?
Yeah.
So what'd you decide?
Hey, I'm going to throw out there the stomping grounds.
The stomping grounds, yeah. See what everybody says. We needed some way to do a poll. I don't know how to do that. I bet there's some way to do it.
Well, you know, when you talk about places that you used to go, your old haunts and stuff, it's pretty regular to hear somebody say, "Oh, that was my old stomping."
The old stomping grounds. That's what we can call it. The old stomping grounds. How does everybody? Let's get some thumbs up. If you think that's a good name for it, give us a thumbs up. There's 46 of you out there. I expect to see at least 35 thumbs up. There goes Chris again.
Well, maybe
I'm looking for something that Louisiana Hunting sent me.
He's gone again. And you're froze.
That's all right. I'm froze. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to having Jeff, because it seems like I remember the Pepper dogs, and that he had several dogs named Pepper. We got a thumbs
Brett,
down.
Who did that? Hey, remember I told you I lost my battery pack?
Maybe they have a different name.
They don't like the name. I think they just do that to pick at us.
Oh.
What'd you say, Chris?
Well, when I just got on and I seen Zane Hoyt Outdoors say hate on me, LOL, and then he sent a super chat. So I don't know what you guys did to him.
That super chat takes care of about like 5 thumbs downs.
Yeah. Remember I told you I bought a new battery for my GoPro and I lost it, kicked it out of the truck. I looked over just now and it's sitting on my counter. I found it. Now I got to go take the... Yeah, this is that one I was telling you about. And look.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I ordered today?
That camera, didn't you?
I ordered a DJI Osmo Pocket 3.
That's not the one you said you were going to order.
It's a different one. I changed my mind.
There you go.
Oh,
I know.
John told me he went back and looked for your camera, and he thinks the drug runners and the what do you call those human traffickers? He thinks they must have picked it up.
Really?
Coyotes.
I'm sure if I lost it on one of those trails that we were on, I'm sure they did.
Jeremy made me a little pouch for my. I just had it and I was going to show it. And I probably walked off and set it somewhere for my Garmin. Hang on my saddle.
Oh, cool.
Show it off. And I lost it already. Look at Benny ripping. Dang.
I'm
I'm
here for the brand. Hey, Brett, I think I need to put some shoes on my mule, and we need to come over here before it gets too hot and ride up the Guadalupes in Texas up to the peak, and you can film that and put it on your other channel. You can't take any dogs in there, but you could show. And I've never been there. I've seen the trail, and it's a real narrow switchbacky trail. A lot of the townies get pretty scared, I guess. That's a nice way to put it.
Why can't you use dogs?
It's in a national park. Guadalupe Mountain National Park.
Not even if they're on a leash?
I don't have that answer.
You could just get you a little leash about this big to hang off their collar.
Just say they're on a leash.
Hey, I'm a loopholer. I like loopholes.
Yeah. I
had the game warden right behind me all weekend too. I was out there elk hunting on OTC. Pretty cool hunt, ham hunt. Handgun archery, muzzleloader. But there's a lot of houses, but I know my way around it. And I was up on top glass and I seen game warden down talking to my dad. My dad got a radio, said, "Hey, Eric got a ticket written out for you already if you want to come down here." And I said, "Nah, I see him down there, so I'm going the other way." And then I went the other way, and I had a guy that watches my show out there, and he had texted me, and he said, he still needs shoes. And he said, "Hey, the game warden's up here, and I see you in the bottom." So I had to turn around and go the other way again. Dang it.
So yeah, Benny, I'd like to do that. How long does it take to get to the top of that mountain?
I think it's going to be.
We'll never know now. He froze up. This is getting really, really frustrating to me.
He must have,
hey guys,
he's on Wi-Fi or his phone?
We got Jeff Allen joining us. He's in the green room.
You already sent him?
Huh?
Yeah.
Got rid of Benny. Now Jeff is here. You ready for him?
Yeah, throw him on.
Let's get him on here. There he is.
Anybody in Western Arizona knows Jeff Allen.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Right now when I sent you this message, I seen that at some point here about 3 years ago, you sent me a video of some dogs, I think. Do you remember that?
I think it's what happened is there was a lion killing in the middle of town. I just seen a dog on that, and there was a lion killing in the middle of town. And so they got me after it, and it was like in September. And anyway, yeah, I think that was the tiny dog.
Whoop.
Oh.
We are having trouble.
You know what? He got
tonight.
A phone call. He got a phone call.
Is that what happens? There he is. He's back.
Okay. Is that the video that you seen, Brett?
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm getting a phone call. Jeez, guys.
All kinds of distractions tonight. We had Benny on, and
Things are going on.
Disappeared on us.
So, yeah, Jeff, you live in Utah, correct?
Yeah, I live right in Kanab, 7 miles from the Arizona border. So,
and I've heard about you since forever. When did you start hunting lions and bears with hounds?
Oh, it's been 45 years ago. I was like 21, and I'm 64, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. How did you get started?
So a long time ago, there was an old gentleman by the name of Glenn McCarg, and he moved here from Michigan, and he was always bumping into me on the motel, and he bumped into me and he says, "Why don't you go lion hunting? I see you're always." I used to trap. I'd cut timber, and then in the winter I was laid off, and I'd trap. So I went with him, and it wasn't long, and he just always asked me, "Hey, you can read sign better than anybody I've ever been around. Why don't you go hunting?" Well, one thing leads to the next. Before long, I'm catching lots of lions, and I give up trapping. Anyway, he he's the one that got me started. He was an old gentleman from Michigan. He was a bear hunter, but he had a couple pretty good old dogs, and it wasn't long, and I was catching more than he was. So um, that's kind of how it started. But I just had to make a living. My wife didn't love me spending all that money on dogs, so I bought a good one, and one thing leads to the next, and that's how I got started. Anyway,
Where'd your first dogs come from?
well, I got one from Leon Cox. I bought a couple Majestics and had them shipped, and they didn't turn out very good. One of them would have been good if I would have had an old dog, but Leon Cox and then Wiley Carroll. I got
Mm-hmm.
Wiley became good friends with me, and he'd come out every Father's Day. He lost his son, so he kind of adopted me, and he'd come out every Father's Day, and we'd go catch a lion, and that's kind of how that all started. So
I'll be dang. Yeah, I got, matter of fact, right here, I got Wiley Carroll's book that
yep,
where he wrote all those letters to everybody back before
yep,
they knew if lions scraped with their front feet or their back feet.
yep. So
You got the answer, Jeff?
I would say the back feet, but I'm not for sure, 100% sure. Once in a while, they don't use their front feet, but I would say their hind feet most of the time.
Yeah, I would think that. I bet you're like you. There, I don't think there's anything they all do consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you come to a scrape and you're riding along and you come to a scrape and it's really wide, I would say maybe they use their front feet there, but for the most part, I think they use their back and urinate on it.
How did those majestic hounds? How did they do for you?
The one was so I got some from that laser
Mm-hmm.
kennel in Canada. One of those would have been really good, but I did. The dog was probably better than I was. It was just a pup, and it was supposed to be started, and it wasn't started. And long story short, I got a little dog named Sally uh, from Leon, but it was Wiley's last dog, and that dog was hands down. I mean, she knew what she was doing. She was just real timid, and that's kind of was my cornerstone of when I really started catching dirt lions. I caught a few snow lions, but that's when I started catching dirt lions. So
Didn't one of those laser hounds came from the Lee brothers, didn't they?
I'm not sure. I didn't know enough then, Brent, to really know much. I was green and I was gung ho, and I just wanted to hunt, but I didn't catch a bunch. I'll be honest. The first year, I hunted probably every day that I wasn't working, and I probably caught 6 lions. And you know what? I'm doing something wrong, or I got to do something else. And I started hunting with old Leon Cox, and he had good dogs, and he'd actually worked with Wiley for the government, and that's kind of where I found out that it takes a better dog than just that you get off a full cry to to catch dirt lions, and then that's when I started doing well. So
It was just upgrading your dogs getting better dogs?
Wiley told me you buy the best old dog that you can afford, that's seen a ton of lion, and you'll do better than trying to train 6 or 8 pups. He said, just get one real good old dog. And I ended up with a Sally dog, a little blue tick dog, and she really was a great dog. Her only hole was she was super, super timid. I mean, she had been, I don't know how to say this, not be crude, but she'd been welled on quite a bit. And if you raised her voice or was harsh with her, she'd go back to truck. But if you just went hunting and let her do her thing, she was a bad cat. So
was that from them breaking her
it
real hard?
it wasn't from Wiley. It was from somebody else, and you know, they was just pretty hard on them dogs, I guess. And she was just a timid dog, and you know, you couldn't be harsh or scream, or she wanted no trouble, I guess the word was.
She's scared.
Yep.
Did your dogs after that? I mean, did they evolve? Did you breed them and raise them, or did you go out get other dogs?
Yeah, I bought a really good dog from Leon named Judy, and then there was an old government hunter by the name of Garn Blackburn. So we bred the Garn Blackburn dog to a dog that I bought from that was named Judy, and that's kind of where my really good ones, Ace and Kim, and some of them really good old strain dogs, who I still have semen, and most of my dogs. I had a friend pull semen, and we froze it, and so when I'd get away, we'd go back. He had a semen tank, and so we'd go back and put a straw on, and that's how I kept them real good ones. The dirt, you know.
What about Pepper? Pepper. How do I remember that name?
Salt. I had 2 dogs, one named Salt and one named Pepper, and they was old strain dogs. And I sold the one, went to Michigan. Mike Leonard ended up with the Salt dog, and Mike's friend actually bought that dog. And Mike and the other gentleman ended up with Salt, and they were litter mates. And they're both super, super, super good dogs, and they were old strain, right out of the old Ace and Kim and Hank. All of those dogs went back to those dogs.
I'd heard of Pepper especially. I thought they had several dogs named Pepper. I thought they kept naming them Pepper.
See, I don't know. I guess I'm a simple man, but if you go back, everyone says, "Oh, I remember Salt." Well, I've had a few Salts, not very many Ace, not very many Hanks, because they were kind of special. But I probably had 6 or 8 of them, and you know, gone. I'd name another one the same thing, but
I got to ask you this, and I hate to, but is it true that you really like Skipper W horses?
I had cut timber, and then when the mill went south and they sold out, so I just thought, you know what, I got to do what I like to do, and so I bought those trail rides out there on the way to the Grand Canyon, and those Skipper horses were just awesome for dude horses and for rope horses, and that's so I'd ride them, and then we'd breed them, raise babies on them, and I've had a lot of good horses. Brett, but those Skippers, they were great horses. I mean, we had to kind of find a certain strain of them. Not all of them were.
I was going to say I'd never disagree with you on the dogs, but I might disagree a little bit on horses.
Okay, well that what makes the world go around. So.
See, I was raised in the Dock Bar world, or the King Leo bred horses, and of course the Skipper W's. Of course, we probably never had access to any good ones, you know. But they were real popular as pleasure and show horses. I know that.
Well, just between you and I and a fence post, old Hank wouldn't sell his best ones. I mean, he'd cull a lot, and so you had to go to someone like Jerry Berkey, and he was the president of the Skipper horses, and he and when I got there, he had horse called Skip's Ego, and that he was an AQHA champion. He'd do everything. He'd ride as good as he looked, but you had to around a little to get them good ones. So
Hank Wieskamp. He was there in Pagosa Springs, right?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've been in Utah all this time, and where else have you hunted or guided? I guess.
I've hunted everywhere. I've guided in Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. I've hunted Idaho. I've hunted, but yeah, California. We used to go take some bear hunters in California. Yeah, I've hunted basically Arizona, Utah, Nevada, just right here around my house. So.
Is that, I mean, besides right there, you've had any favorite places you'd like to go?
Oh, I don't know whether there is a favorite. I like the Strip because it didn't used to get much hunting pressure. Excuse me. And there was a lot of big lions, long ways out there, and you'd never bump into anybody. But it's kind of more popular now. Still some bigger lions. I don't, Mount Trumbull, Logan, out that way. But the Kaibab has been really good. The Ponsagon, I made my living here forever. Taking clients. We'd killed, between Arizona and Utah, we'd killed 20 lions a year. So, and sometimes more than that. Way back when I had a big child support check.
Do you run bears too with the same dogs?
You know what? It's just been the last few years that we've got into bear hunting because we sold the horse rides and I built an RV park, and so I've had more summers off. So I've always caught a bear or two. Maybe in the summer when you was trailing a lion or something. There's not a ton of bear here, so but yeah, I like bear hunting. Wiley made me promise. He said, Jeff Allen, he said, don't dare put them good lion dogs on bear. He said they'll get stupid. And so I promised him, and I've told everybody he's rolling over in his grave, kicking the sides of the casket, trying to get me to quit doing that. But it's pretty fun, but we still don't catch a ton of them. I just didn't go catch a lion, but I guess this day and age, you just put them on whatever you can. So,
yeah.
Did you ever hunt with Steve Galentine?
Yeah, actually, I sold Steve a lot of dogs, and he'd come out and bred to my Hank dog a couple times. So
He was in California, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Did you go to Nevada much and hunt up there?
We would go to Nevada around Ely and Lund. I had some friends over there that I'd help out, and we'd run over there and catch a few lions. But Wiley told me, if you know Wiley's story, right at the end, right before he passed away, he was getting ready to retire, and it was like 3 weeks before he was to retire, they laid him off, and so he didn't have a pension, and he dearly hated the government. And he said, I wouldn't walk across the street to catch a lion for them. I can't say it on the air, but
I'd say it. That's I'll say it's kind of a chicken shit thing to do.
Yeah, he hated them, to be honest with you, and they didn't do him right. And so I didn't hunt a ton in Nevada with Wiley. He would always drive out here. He lost his son, and that's why I named my little boy Wiley. It was after Wiley Carroll. And so anyway, but he'd come out every Father's Day, and he had another gentleman from Oregon. He kind of told me where to hunt the Strip, like Mud Mountain and stuff. He said that you can help them dogs because it's sandy. A lot of that Strip is hard clay and really coarse, and you you can't find a track, unless you're free casting your dogs. But Mud Mountain is that blow sand, and it's really good trailing conditions, and you can ride along and sick your dogs on the track or find out which way they're going or whatever. So
in that sand like that, I mean, you have to help your dogs quite a bit, don't you?
well, yeah, definitely have to get them started the right way, and then after you get them started the right way, it damn sure doesn't hurt to, walk along and help them. Once they get it, 6 or 8 hours old, they can carry it. But anybody that's hunted dirt knows that conditions are sometimes are everything. So
I know. I've
you're hit a
tried and
flat,
tried.
yeah, you hit a flat top that for some reason that's not got any, and the line doesn't leave a lot of sand, or it leaves more on rocks. Blow sand is not great, but a crisp blow track, I don't know, they can roll it if it's just right.
How about the yellow grass?
I don't know about yellow grass as much as I do those burns. You'll be trailing, the dogs will be carrying a track, and they'll hit one of those old burns, and it'll be like someone flips a light switch off, and then you'll hit a North soap with a little more moisture in it, and they can carry it good. And yeah, there's a hell of a lot to that. Right.
It's. Do you free cast and ride your horses quite a bit hunting?
Yeah, that's the only way I started doing it. As I was very productive with just riding a horse or a mule. Liked horses a little better, but I have rode some dang good mules. Just so hard to find a good one. Nobody rides like you, Brett. So anyway, yeah, I had good luck that way. And then, when I started having to make a living doing it, then we started hunting more out of a truck. I'd have a couple of helpers cutting roads and still hunting the dirt, but 2 or 3 guys would cover more than a horse would. So, but we still hunt. We still hunt on horses. So we like them half drafts and good quarter horses.
Yeah,
I'm looking. If you got one. My wife's not listening, so.
So that's really, if you're going to go out and hunt for yourself, that's the way you prefer to hunt.
Oh yeah, I love it. You what your dogs are doing, them young dogs. You can tell just exactly what they're doing. You're right there with them. It's hard to dump them out on a track and know what they're doing. I don't care how good you are on a Garmin. It's nice to be right there with them. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
yeah. Over the years, what have you seen change? What are the major changes that you've noticed in hound hunting, lion hunting, and everything like that?
Well, I used to be able to cut a road on the Kaibab and go back in a week and be the only track in there. Now, there's so dang many people. If there's a snowstorm, there's half a Phoenix there. And it's terrible. I've got 2 dogs right now that I'm pretty sure somebody else has got. So anyway, just a lot more people. And basically, most of them are great. I have nothing, everybody to their own, but seems like there's a lot more people doing it. And that's the biggest change. When I first started, we didn't even have beep beep collars. And then we got beep beeps, and now they got the good Garmin. So that's huge in the hound dog world right there. So
do you kind of
you mark your dogs?
You know what? I don't, and I need to freeze brand them or something because I've donated too many of them and to somebody, and I'm just brokenhearted. I found the one dog the other day, and she's all broke up, but we knew right where because I got 300 yards from her, and she was pinned in a ledge. Well, it took us 4 days to get in, repel and get her out, and she's all busted up. But we got her. But the other two dogs come out and hit a road. They're gone. So somebody picked them up. So
You think if they knew they was a Jeff Allen dog, they'd steal them a little faster, though?
I don't know whether I would hate to think that, but maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I probably should freeze brand them. Do you boys freeze brand yours, or?
I freeze brand mine.
I should. Heck, where I hunt, nobody else wants to hunt, so I don't worry about it a whole lot. Well,
you know what? Mike Leonard kind of chewed me out. He said you ought to chip every one of them. They ought to have a freeze brand. So, maybe I should listen, but I just never have. And it's sad. I might have to start. So,
yeah, I think it's probably a good practice.
You got your name on the collar?
Yeah, I had a Gorman collars and regular collars, and they both have names. And I don't know. They're long gone. I know that.
I feel like if it said Jeff Allen, they'd be more apt to steal it if they were thieves, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there might be something to that, because I've done a few of them over the years. Anyway, I don't want to accuse anybody, but I'd sure like to get them back.
I bet. And it mostly happened down, like you said, on the strip there? Or?
Well, mostly on the Kaibab, because, they got real good snow, and, they get a fresh snow, and it seems like, when the snow flies, everybody comes running out of the valley and books it up here, and it's free for all. So when it's dry dirt, you hardly see anybody else. So
do you have problems like that when people trying to beat each other to tracks and arguments or anything like that?
I knock on wood, we haven't had much problem, but once in a while you have someone. But as a rule, hound dog people are just awful, pretty awful good people. I don't generally have problems with anybody, but anyway.
Do you have any good started dogs for sale now?
I do actually have three dogs that are about finished. I'd say they're finished, but they're not super in those tall trees like on the Kaibab. They're one of them is starting to tree pretty good in the Ponderosa pine. In cedars and pinions, all three of them are really good. If they can see them, they're tough, and they've seen a ton of lion. The two males they're pretty good little bear dogs too. But I don't know why because their mom and dad were both super tree dogs, but they don't love a tall tree. The rusty dog is probably the best of the two in a tall tree, but
they're good. You think they'll learn it?
I wished I knew that. I've had those young dogs get better and better and better on those tall trees, and then some of them, if they can't see it, they never get better. So I'd like to tell you I knew everything, but I don't. So
if you want, I had a guy that had saved some money, and he wants to buy a dog that's seen quite a few lions, and real good guy. And I'll pass your name along if that's okay with you.
All of these are super. All of these have seen a bunch of kills and a bunch more that we didn't kill, and they're straight company. I don't know. They're young. They're like 2.5 years old, but they've seen a grundle of lion, both of them. So anyway,
yeah, I'll pass your name along to him.
Have you sold some dogs like that could be really good, and then maybe someone gets them and they're not such a good houndsman and kind of ruin them?
That's that broke company thing.
Mm-hmm. I sold. So I have a relative that lives in Oregon, John Blozier. He's the only one of the two only paid government hunters in Oregon. And he called me up and he said, Jeff, I've never owned a broke dog in my life. And I said, what? And he said, I've had a hell of a lot of well bent ones, but I've never had one that I'd consider broke. He said, you can't ever brag on a dog unless he's dead, or you're. And so I thought,
Yeah.
that's pretty good terminology right there. He's
Yeah.
there are a lot of well bent ones, but never owned a broke one. So.
Yeah. As soon as you brag about your dogs,
Oh yeah.
they never
yeah.
trash. There goes that deer, and they're chasing it right in front of you, right in front of who you bragged them.
Yeah, I don't want to say any names, but I used to take that Full Cry magazine, and there was a gentleman that used to advertise "Born Broke." These so genetically gifted that they're born broke, and I thought, man, I want to meet the guy that has the brass to say that. So
Yeah.
What
and relate mine. So.
speaking of trash, how about foxes?
So I'm glad you said that. Oh, Wiley used to tell me, Jeff, you can't get after them dogs until they're after a year old. And I said, why can't you? And he said, those little gray fox smell just like a cat. And he said, so don't be too hard on them till after they're a year old, and then you break them. But I've had them dogs that going down the bottom of a canyon, and they'll start firing, and you know, on that kaibab, it's just pine needles and rocks, so you really can't tell exactly what they're trailing. And then finally, you find a little sandy place, and it's a gray fox. So, with that being said, I think you can dang sure break any dog. Anybody says he can't break a dog, you can break him, but you just got to be careful. And you got to show them a lot of lion or a lot of bobcat or whatever you're hunting them on, and then when you make up your mind, so that's my theory.
do you run bobcats too?
We do. If we have a client that's killing the first day and he wants to kill a bobcat, then we'll go ahead, and in Arizona, your hunting license is good for a bobcat, so we'll go ahead and, you know, a lot of times we'll take a bobcat, but you know, we're mostly lion guys, but we dang sure catch a few. But I can't lie to anybody and tell anybody we catch a ton of, because we don't.
Without a track, do you have any little tricks you can tell if it's a fox or a bobcat?
Honestly, no, Brett. I don't. I just
Dang
the
it.
only way I can tell is if you find their track. You know, when they lift their head up and fly, you know, I'd be checking pretty dang fast what it is and make up your mind. So I don't know.
Have you treated quite a few foxes?
You know, not a ton of them. Every year you might catch one in the ledges or something, you know, running along some rim rock, and it'll jump up a tree on you, and you wonder what the heck's going on until you get there. But you know, those old dogs, when they see so many lion, they kind of know what they're doing, and you generally don't have any trouble. It's generally those ones that are maybe 2 years old or just, you know, really coming into their stuff. There's the ones that generally will bounce a gray or something on you. So
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Was your family in the hounds like generations, or
no, my dad.
what got you into the hounds as a kid, or just?
I just love dogs. I had a German short hair when I was like 11 or 12, and I just loved to hunt. My dad he took me deer hunting a couple times, but I just had a passion for hound or dogs. And when when I got married, I just thought, you know what? I just want to be a lion hunter. And I just, I don't know. No, my dad never did hunt. I took him out and showed him a few lions and others, but none of them really hunt. much at all, and none of them use dogs or anything. So just a
Yeah,
passion.
that's I had similar when I was young. I heard the stories, but I never really could pursue it. I mean, until I got older, and I tried from time to time. But geez, before the internet or anything, I tried to meet Mike Root, and Ross Johnson and these guys that were around down here, and J.R. Williams back then, and I never could I never could get with them, to learn or to get dogs.
Right. Yeah. Wiley, I used to call Wiley all the time and write. And then, did you ever know a gentleman down there in Arizona named Ted Ferguson?
I've heard the name.
He owned that Bali dog way back when, and some of them real good ones them dirt dogs went back to his dogs, and that the old timer that kind of got me started. Him and Ted were buds. So anyway, I just was curious about that. So
I'm
go ahead, Chris.
Benny, I wonder how many people are first generation hound hunters. I know I am. I'm kind of along with you guys. I just always wanted hounds. I know a guy who had a story where he was camped out somewhere, and dogs come barreling through camp, and some old timer comes barreling through on his mule, jumps off, grabs like a pup. This guy says the pup, he wasn't even a year old, and he sees a bear track in his camp. Bear had run through their camp, and that old guy takes his dog, pushes his face in the print and says, "Go get him, go get him." And that dog takes off and running, and the guy jumped on his mule and barreled out. And that guy said, "Ever since then, I wanted dogs." So
yeah,
I always wonder what the backstory is. Me, I wanted dogs. I met a guy. I worked with him. He ran some coons and lions, and he gave me some dogs. And they were the Bam Bam walkers. And I got a divorce, got rid of them. And then years later, I got back in the dogs. So,
yeah. Well, my dad said, "Jeff, is this really what you want to do for a living?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad, it is what I want to do." And he said, "Well, I'm not. I guarantee you, I'm not going to talk you out of it." So anyway, he questioned my mentality, but and it wasn't the easiest living, but I'm after the Kaibab shut down. That's all I done for a living. Just take lion hunters and then take trail rides in the summer and hunt all winter. So hell,
How about your kids? Any of your kids like to hunt lions?
I have one son. He's a fire boss on the Kaibab for firefighters. Works the Forest Service, and he probably seen honestly 100 lion before he was 16 or 17. I drag him with me when he's big enough to hike and or ride a horse, and I burned him out. I'll be honest, Brett. I burned him out, and he said I I don't know whether he loves to hunt, still a big predator caller, loves to hunt deer and everything else. But I think I fed him too many snow sandwiches or didn't feed him at all. So he didn't. I was single at the time. Anyway.
He had to scoop up too much dog poop as a kid.
Yeah. I don't know what I did, but I wish I'd done it different. But he doesn't hate them, but I shoved it down his throat pretty hard, I guess.
It's hard.
I hear a lot of that, to where they did it as kids, got burnt out, and then when they get to their 20s, in their 20s, they say, "Dang, I wish I'd have paid more attention and stayed in the dogs." But I think as kids, they do get burned out. I got 9-year-olds, and they feed for me when I'm gone, and I imagine they're going to be burned out, but they got their own dogs that they try to train.
Brandon killed his first when he was 14, and then he killed another one when he was 18, and both of them really nice toms. And his son is 14 now, and someday I'd like to kill him one, but my little autistic boy, who's named Wiley, I'll never get a chance to kill him one. He's severe, so I'll never get a chance to kill him one. But my grandkids, I got daughters, and
Good.
someday I'll kill one, and hopefully I can. One of it'll rub off on them. I'd love to pass this on to somebody. So
My grandson loves the dogs, and he helps me. He takes care of them, cleans pens, and exercises and stuff. But he's just not that interested in going out and hunting with them. I've taken him some. He's never caught a lion, but I've taken him, a few times. And of course, sitting on a mule for 8-9 hours in a day, it's just not.
yeah, a little
It's hard.
sex off when you're not hard and you sit on a mule for 8 or 10 hours. So
I
anyway,
I I think you have to have the love for dogs in general, and then if you can't kind of be bred into it or be raised with it, you have to love them in general, you
oh
know.
yeah,
So, and I think a lot of these kids that just run out and buy dogs and run them, you won't see them when they're 60 years old on the back of a mule or even probably have dogs, you know.
yeah, I totally agree. Yep.
If you didn't have any of your own dogs now, and you had to go out and find you some hounds, do you have an idea where you'd go to get them?
Well, I just love old Stan Meekum. Him and I were, we hunted lions, and Clint, his son, and I were partners. And I really like the Meekums, and I would probably, if I wanted some dirt dogs, I would probably go see Hunter Meekum. If I wanted a real good dirt dog, I think the world of that family, and especially, um, I think there's a lot of good dogs around. Um, Southern Utah, there's a lot of my friends that have got this old strain of dogs, a couple, and I don't know. I know Brett's got an awful good name, and there's a lot of good dogs. Um, but I would probably go to someone that makes a living doing it or knows a lot about it and been there a lot. And I have nothing against registered dogs because I used to raise the Nance dogs for years. The only problem was their feet, and I love the Nance bred dogs. But um, I don't know whether I've answered any questions, but I hope I haven't offended anybody. But I I, I think
Just
old
Benny.
Stan, you can imagine, and Hunter, he's a chip off the old block, so that's one good kid right there. So
Yeah, I talked to Hunter when my good old mule died, and he contacted me and said that they come across a lot of good mules, and that he would sure keep an eye out for me, and help me try to get one.
yeah, yeah, that's a good bird right there, and
Yeah.
he's as honest. It comes by rightfully that his grandpa Stan, is probably the salt of the earth. I just love old Stan. He's been a family friend for 50 years. So
I'm supposed to go up there. I want to go up there and interview him. That's sit down, and have him like we're doing with you, have him tell his stories and everything. I think that would be really interesting.
yeah, if you can get up there, he is the salt of the earth, and he's as honest as anybody I've ever been around. If he says it, it's pretty much gospel, and the whole family's that way. Anyway, I love them all.
So, one more question: what do you think the future of hunting with hounds? What do you think? What do you foresee?
I'm afraid, Brett. I'm really afraid. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good thing we have some good legislation, but you've seen what happened in Utah, and you just never say never. So, I don't know. I would like to think it was here to stay, but we all need to be awake. Because all you got to do is get a couple people that don't like it, and they'll slip it in the back door, and you'll be golfing. So,
That's running coyotes.
yeah. There you go. There you go. Right there. I'll be running coyotes. That's what I'll be doing.
Yep. Trashing on them lions.
Yeah, them old trashy pack of Allen coyotes. So,
Well,
once in a while,
let's get in.
Even tree. So,
what about the theory of a lion can turn off his scent? We want your input on that.
I've never seen it. I've questioned my dogs a bunch, but I don't know whether I've ever seen any that can shut their scent off. And I'm not an authority, but I've never. I've wanted to beat them dogs till they didn't have any hide on them. Once in a while, I seen a lion loping up the bottom of the canyon, jumped up a shelf, and then turned and run back like 300 yards across the canyon. So I knew it was, 10 minutes old before I got over there. When I got over there, they went back to cold trailing, barely cold trailing, and it was all, and for the life of me, I just couldn't figure out. They should have had their heads up, rolling, and so one of those scent deals. I don't know. I don't have any explanations. And then I've had a dog throw their head up and run clear across the canyon like they were trashing, and they winded a lion track. No, it was hot, but I've seen some dang funny things.
Yeah,
Brett has a story.
I got a story about a lion turning off her scent.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, it was me and my grandson. We went up to a little rock quarry up here, and lion comes to it every now and then. But we went up there, and the dogs were cold trailing up on top a little bit, and we let them trail. And I don't know. I thought it was a bobcat. I don't know why, and nothing ever came of it. And we got down there back to I was on my buggy, and we had a coyote call, or one of those electronic Fox Pros. And I told my grandson, I said, let's set that thing up and see if we can get a coyote to come in here. We can shoot him. And we set that thing up, and we were sitting in the rocks, and nothing ever came in. We let it go for about 15, 20 minutes. And I said, we haven't shot our guns in a while. I said, let's pick out a rock on the other side of this canyon, and let's shoot. And of course, the coyote call was still going off, and we were discussing which rock we were looking at, And he calls me Tita. He said, Tita, there's a lion right there. And I looked, and there was a lion that had come to that call, walked right over the top. We're sitting there looking at him. He said, should I shoot her? I said, no. I said, let's go get the dogs, because we had the dogs in the dog box in the buggy. I said, let's go get those dogs. And we went and got them, and man, they trailed that lion around, got her going, and she went up and around through the boulders, and the dogs got hung up in the boulders, and then they ran her up this canyon, and just an old soft bottom sandy wash canyon. And then she went up, and she went through another set of bluffs up there, and the dogs got hung up in those bluffs. They finally got around, and they came down. We seen the lion running back towards us into where she started from. And she ran down, and she was probably, I don't know how many yards in front of the dogs, but 300 or 400 yards maybe in front of the dogs. And there's a little 2-track road, and she got in that 2-track road, and she squatted down like that, and I never will forget, she lifted her head up and looked back at those dogs. And when she left that road, she was just sneaking like that, and she snuck off like that. And those dogs hit that, and they turned to cold trailing right there, and tough cold trailing. They couldn't hardly trail it anymore. And we worked in those. It's a big boulder pile. There's canyons or deep cuts and big boulders and everything. And we trailed around there for a little while, never could get it. And finally I circled around, went to another place, probably a couple hundred yards, and I found her track where she left there and went across the greasewood, and she cut out across through there. But I told my grandson, I said, I've always heard that they could do that. I said, she turned her scent off, which I don't think she turned off her scent, but something changed right there.
Yeah. I've trailed enough lions down a 2-track road, and you want to beat them dogs, and you get down the road, and it steps off 2 steps off the road, and they can carry the track, but they couldn't smell it even though it was a sandy 2-track road. They couldn't smell it in the road, but the second they step off of it, they could roll it. So that has to have something to do with it, right? But I had a lot too that they could hold their scent. So I don't really know. I'm not an authority on it, but that dang sure makes sense to me. So I also heard all these people were telling me stories that they were rigging lions out of the box, and I thought, man, I must not have that good at dogs, because I've only seen a couple dogs, maybe throw their head up and run across the canyon and started it. And so I thought, I don't want to call anybody a liar, but I didn't believe it. And then last year, I was hunting bear. My wife had drew a bear tag, and so we was up, and my dogs blew up just like it was a rig off the box. And I thought, all right. And I looked, and I could see where a lion had killed a deer and drug it up in the scrub oak and buried it. And I don't know whether it was an hour or 2 hours. I ended up catching the lion, but it was a long cold trail, but it was pretty hot summer days. Anyway, so just never say never. That's all.
Do you know Mike Martell?
I do not.
He's the one. He came down. He's from Oregon or Washington, somewhere like that. And he came down with me, and he spent a couple days with me. And he's an older houndsman, been around for a long time. And I took him up in the mountains, and we were driving up over the pass there. And I had an older dog that was more or less broke, and she just, when we were going over the pass, she just stuck her nose up and roar like that. And he said, what do you think that dog's barking at? I said, I don't know. Sometimes those dogs bark in the box. I don't pay attention to them. And he said, no. He said she was winding something right there. He said, is she pretty broke? I said, well, yeah, she's pretty broke. I said, but I just didn't believe it. And he said, no, that thermal's coming out of that canyon right there. He said, can we get down there? And it's, you go over that pass, and it's just, horseshoe bends all the way down through there. And so I circled around, got down there, and dumped her out of the dog box, and she ran over there to a tree, and she had rigged a scrape where a lion had scratched right there. And now we couldn't trail the lion, but she winded that scrape.
Well, I know that's the truth, because I've been riding along, and your dogs run over to Ponderosa Pine, and they'll start firing on them scrapes, and they can smell them 2 or 3 or 4 days, where that can't hardly trail it away from the tree, but they can dang sure fire on them scrapes or scratches or whatever you want to call it. So,
man, then for the next 6 months, every time a dog barked in the box, I'd drop them, and I had coyote races and everything else.
Well, welcome to the hound world right there.
Yep. So what advice would you have for somebody who wants to get into hounds? I tell them, don't. Find a friend who has dogs.
Well, I've helped out more dang youngsters, and I've given more pups away to youngsters, and I'm still going to do it. But I don't know how much longer. I don't know how much longer it's going to be good. But if you love it, go for it. I don't want to talk to anybody. I wish one of my grandkids would have some love for it, but anyway, I don't know. I don't want to talk anybody in or out. If you love it, go for it.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I'm up for adoption. I'll definitely take it over.
Well,
I'll go clean some dog pens.
I'll send a pup or two your way.
What? If we got any questions? Anything else, guys? What?
I don't. It was fun chatting with you guys.
Man, thank you so much for coming on.
One of you can jump in. We'll go catch a lion or trail one anyway.
I'm going to come see you. Maybe I can come up and we can sit down and have a formal sit down interview.
Yeah, I'd love that. It'd be awesome.
Perfect. I'd like to do it, Jeff. I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, man, I've heard about you since I first started trying to get into hounds.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'd love to sit down and go trail one around for a minute. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all right.
Maybe you put me on one of those Skipper W horses.
I honestly, my daughter's a big barrel racer, and we've changed gears, so we've got 2 or 3 Skipper horses left, but we've got the Goodbye Lane and Streaking Six, and we got all them Go Fast now.
Oh, you got into speed.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's those granddaughters and her are into the barrels now, so
Cool.
I've half drafts. That's what I ride. Blue Ronies, some old Hancock.
Oh, there you go.
Half draft, and they're double tough. But I've rode some awesome mules in my life, but I just every time I get one, something happens. And anyway, I don't have one right now.
One more question. I'm curious then, with the half drafts, do you find that it's easier and more consistent to find a good one than a mule?
I think if you're like you and you ride 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, you can make a really good mule. If you just hunt, I hunt every day, all winter long, and then in the summer, I'm farming, and so I get to hunt maybe 1 or 2 days a week. And I think if you have a half draft and you don't, you can get by with less riding. I'm not going to say that probably the best animal I've ever sit on was a mule, but it's so dang hard to find a super jam up good one unless you ride more. When I owned the horse rides on the way to the Grand Canyon, that's all we did all summer long is, take dudes and we made lots of good horses and some good mules. But unless you got a job for them, you got to be a hand and eye. So I think I would tell anybody that wants a good mule, go find someone like yourself that rides a bunch or uses them, and they'll know a good one or know of a good one. And but I love my half drafts, and I don't think you have to use them as much. But that's my 2 cents. So
cool. Well, I'm still looking for. Man, they're expensive now too. Woo!
Oof.
I'm telling you, I just talked to Hunter, and he said, "I'll find you a good one, Jeff." I had a good rope horse, and he said, "I'll trade you for a good rope horse." And he's looking, but I don't know. I'll probably end up with these old half drafts. I got a couple I ride every day, and they're kind of rock busting good old rascals. So
cool. Well, Jeff, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Fun chatting.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye. That was good. That's like, I mean, all those guys, he's right in that group with Henry McIntyre and Steve Smith and Benny and all these old guys that started out the hard way.
You might have to hang him up.
Yeah, I'm trying to hang up here. I don't know what's going on.
You might have to hang him up, Brett.
I'm talking about you. You should.
Oh, he snuck her on there. We got her.
I gotta hang him up. I told him to hang up, so he didn't
I got you. I'm gonna hang you up right here. But yeah, him and then Mike Leonard and Mike Root and all those out of the same mold.
Oh yeah.
Except Mike Root, he's not out of the same mold. He's different than any of them.
Yeah. I don't think his mind is all there. He just goes. Like I think he's the guy that thinks about what he did last year and said, "Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that." But I did it, and he lived.
He does that. reenactment, that death march or whatever, where they like hike 25 miles or 28 miles every
I
year.
remember when I was in military, we were supposed to only hike. It was like a small bivouac when you're in the basic training. And it was supposed to be like a 12-mile march. Well, they got us lost. So it's like a 25-mile march.
Jeez.
And all night. We didn't get back to the barracks till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And then, of course, you got to shower and everything, and you get to bed, and then they wake you up at 4:30. So you got about an hour sleep. And I remember I got up, got dressed, was down in formation. It was 4 of us. And so all I thought about on that march was, I'm going to have them make me an omelet. I don't care if they drop me in the KP line. I'm going to get an omelet. I'm going to wait and just. So I'm standing in formation before chow, and a drill sergeant walks out and says, I need 4 volunteers to go take the Ames equipment back. And I wasn't saying nothing. I wasn't going to volunteer. I wanted an omelet. And he takes 4 MREs and he throws them, and one lands by my feet. Yeah. I didn't get my omelet. Little story on the side.
What happened to Benny? It's just not the same without Benny and his spear.
I know, Benny, just get back on.
Come on, Benny.
You know why?
Quit pouting.
It's because Alan said he didn't care about pedigree. Now Benny don't want to be on here.
Benny, yeah. Well, he got his. Let's see if we can pretend.
And you just put it right between us. Just put it right between us.
There you go.
It's just like he's there. There you go.
We just need a spear.
Maybe we need I'll look around for a Lorax puppet. So when he's not here, we can just make him talk. Roar with the spear. Just get back on, Benny.
Come on, Benny.
Mm-hmm. We love you. I was kidding about the little cute pose.
You should see him. You should see him when he has his Speedos on.
He has his pedigree printed on it for his dogs on his Speedo.
Send me a link to my email. No. Here we go.
You're 8 years. You coming on?
This is Mr. Benny.
His internet. You know,
he's to the right of me.
There's 2 of them.
Twins. Where were you?
My internet. I guess I'm going to have to call the phone company and find out.
Work on it. I got to send. Let's see. I got to send Mr. Redhouse.
You know, I never seen old Jeff Allen and seen him. Just hear about talk, It's the first time I ever seen him.
He's considerably more white-headed than the last time I saw him.
It happens.
Somebody said they thought my mule was buried in the pasture. That mule was not buried in the pasture. That mule was a counterfeit POS, and I just shot his ass dead right there, and then used him for coyote bait and shot coyotes from my back patio.
My aunt worked for the CAP Canal. It's an off district sister company, and they had 30 or 40 res horses fall in the canal, and it went up to a gate. They drowned. So they pulled out all these horses, and it was a big pile of horses, and they just drug it on state land, piled them up. And we'd drive up there, and you just kind of drive up fast you can, because coyotes would just be running at them, and you'd shoot coyotes, and you could sit there for 5 minutes and walk up to the pile, and coyotes would run out the middle of that pile because they were just eating their way into it. That was good coyote hunting.
Nasty.
Oh yeah, you could smell it 10 miles away.
Oh yeah,
but they had pulled a mare out of the canal and saved it. My grandmother did, and it had a baby. My dad still has that horse, Star. She's a booger. Anybody wants to buy her?
Flipper.
Flipper. Algae.
We used to shoot coyotes out of the dairy, out of their dead animal pit up there. And pulled the hides off of them. You talk about a gagging experience. It was awful. The stinkiest thing.
Benny's gonna get us shut down by PETA.
We are not responsible for anything Benny says.
Yep. You know, it reminds me of a joke where the guy calls the vet and says, my horse has a broken leg. What do I do? And he says, shoot him. He calls the vet back. He says, what do I do now? He goes, well, did you shoot him? He goes, yeah, but now he's bleeding.
Well, I was going to video me shooting my mule, but we had a president that reminded me of my mule, Mr. Obama, and I thought that'd probably go over bad.
Did you name your mule Obama?
There at the end, I did.
Nice.
He was counterfeit. He didn't do anything that he was supposed to do. He'd look for any excuse to play along and then try to dry gulch you. And I just got tired of it, kind of like the president, and I could do something about my mule.
We might want to leave it at that.
We're going into a bad place right there.
No, I just said, that's all. I could do something about my mule, so I did.
Yep.
Well, you could have named him Clinton.
He wasn't.
I have so many good jokes for that.
He was not fair skinned.
Horse meat is good, Johnny. I wish if they sold a tag and they were going to do this, well, ask Calvin about it. On the reservation, they were supposed to do it up there where you could go kill horses. And you know what happened there. PETAs and all them whiny babies that don't have no clue. You know, you want a horse, go get one, put it in your backyard and feed it, idiots. But they shut it down. But I would have went up. Mm-hmm. Lean.
Those horses on the Navajo reservation are pretty well-mannered horses for the most part.
They're tough. They're really tough. My oldest one now, mama horse, I had her and I bred a Persian Mustang to her all the time. And she was perfect. Didn't have hardly to break them. They weren't mean, not a mean bone in their body.
Yeah, that's what John Clump uses for his.
I love Mustangs. I had a heifer named Hillary.
Hey, Benny, have you ever rode any half-draft horses?
No, I never could get my legs stretched up that high.
Well, they don't all have to be that tall. Don't they have some smaller ones that are wide? Those, what do they call them?
Yeah, they call them dwarfs.
No.
Man, I had a bull loose run through my yard and just break fences, run horses through fences, and I had a big horse. You know, he was over 16, just a big stout horse. He was an appendix thoroughbred. He was off the track, so he's thoroughbred quarter horse, and he had come out of a trailer, hurt his knees, and I picked him up $600 at the auction. So I got saddled up, and I was trying to rope this bull so we could drag him in a trailer, and this guy rode up on this dang huge draft horse. I don't know what it was, but this horse had to be 1,800 pounds, just ridiculous big. And he ropes this bull, and that old horse didn't miss a step. Just walked it off and got it to the trailer, and we had a rope through the trailer. You rode through the trailer and drug him through, and I was on the outside of the door, dallied, and that stupid bull would take off running and yank me and my horse against the trailer. And man, that old boy hooked up that big old horse and just drugged that bull in there.
Mike, that gives me nightmares, Benny being president.
There was I saw a draft horse one time. Let's see, we were at Red Creek and we were working cattle, and Tanya Tucker's crew had come in there. They were going across the Matazels on a pack trip, and their cook was riding a big half draft, and they had a big a huge wreck there, and everybody got bucked off, and the cook's big draft horse bucked him off, and then kicked him when he was in the air, and that draft horse cross had about a 43 triple shoe, and it busted that cook's ribs and femur, and they had to haul him back to town. So I thought, that's a long way to fall from way up there, and then to have one of those big feet like that back. Yeah, I didn't want any part of that.
We're having a hard time getting Calvin on here for some reason. It says waiting on host.
He has bad internet.
Calvin
up there.
Well, I think he's not using his phone this time. I think he's trying to do it on the computer.
Oh. I tell you, we had an 18-hand thoroughbred stud, and when he reached the run, that old boy ran. And if he bucked, all he had to do was crow hop, and you were about 12 feet in the air, it felt like. I'll stick to the res horses.
The other side of that coin is my wife had a horse that was a cross between a saddlebred and a Tennessee Walker. So it wasn't the same size as a half draft, but it was a big old horse. And when you get that horse into its gait, it was just like being up there in the clouds on a flying carpet. And my poor quarter horses had to lope. They absolutely had to lope to keep up with that other horse.
We had a big old black gelding that I broke from my dad, and he was just a long 2-year-old, and I mean he was beautiful, beautiful. And we called him. Remember the show Roots? We called him Kutu Kente, and he was a nice. And I asked. I used to go help some of the ranchers around there, and they had some yearlings turned out on a circle pivot out there, and they asked me if I could come help gather it. And I said, sure. And I asked my dad, I said, can I ride Kutu Kente? He said, yeah, go ahead and take him. And he was 16 hands. He was big, even he was beautiful, but he was green as could be. And we were all out there riding to get to the other side of the pivot. And there was probably about 6 or 7 of us, riding side by side, just talking and everything. And one of those, we were riding around the edge, and one of those yearlings came up. And you know how they'll come up and they're feeling good. They're on that green feed and come up and got to feeling good and jumping around like that next to him. And he got scared and he went sideways, and it was just like dominoes. I mean, I just knocking horses down. I was trying to pull his head around and get him to stop. We ran smooth to the other end of that pivot before I got him stopped. Everybody made fun of me after that. But then I finally got him going and everything, and Dad sold him to a rancher. And I mean, this was an expensive horse. Old rancher up there up there by Raton. And the guy paid a lot of money for him. And Dad said, after he sold him, he asked him, he said, why did you want to pay for this horse like that? He said, man, can you imagine how good I'll look riding over that pass on that big, black, beautiful thing? He really wanted to look good, and he was beautiful. I mean, he was a nice horse too. Calvin's having issues. I can't get him on here. I have no idea why.
He might have to get on his phone or something.
He said I sent it to his phone now, the link, and waiting on host again. Guys, I have no idea what's up. I don't have him on the interview thing here. Let me try it again.
The first gen hound hunter started running coyotes with running dogs. Now me and the old lady run bears, coyotes, bobcats, coons, and wolves. And they let us, all with the same dogs. That sounds to me like you just got a trashy dog and you go out and you just run. But it is Coyotes R Us. So
I'm going to send him another link.
How is it running wolves? We had somebody that ran wolves. Oh yeah, that was Bear Saragusa, right? They ran wolves up there. Our dogs. What kind of wolves? Where are you from? Coyotes R Us.
I don't know if that's the case or not, Chris, but a lot of those coyote hunters call them wolves. They call them prairie wolves. You've heard that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Coons and wolves. Well, let's see. Find out where he's at.
I've heard that they can run lone wolves as long as it's a lone wolf.
Well, remember Bear was talking about it, and we asked him how many dogs, and he's like 1 or 2 dogs. Wasn't even like.
There we go. Now remember, this is the guy that called us
ugly.
all but ugly. I think is what he said.
Maybe he's too ugly for our podcast.
He called us all but ugly, and look at him.
Yeah, pretty boy. Look at the pretty boy there.
Can we hear you, Calvin?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. How is Calvin Redhouse?
Oh, we're doing good.
He's having
enjoying life.
How's the hunting been this year?
So more muddy than snow, to be honest with you. You get out there, ground's frozen for about 2-3 hours, and then thaws out and you get a muddy mess.
How's the weather up there? You guys get a lot of snow?
This year we really didn't get that much. I think we got one good snowstorm. That was pretty much about it.
Same here.
And then when it gets muddy like that, it's miserable to get around, isn't it?
Nasty.
Yeah.
A lot of clay
you got that
on that res.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got that clay up there. It only has to be a half inch deep.
Yeah. Yeah, it sticks to the bottom of everything. You walk down one road and you got about 2-3 inches of mud underneath of you. Just that much taller, I guess.
Reminds me of that movie Josie Wells. When they were filming, it was raining. So when Clint Eastwood, he's already a big dude. So when he's walking through, they'd have to keep adjusting the camera because he would grow 4 inches with all the mud on their feet. And then they clean the feet out and he'd have to drop down.
Now we lost Calvin. He looks like Kunta Kinte over there. There he is.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we're going to get in trouble on this one.
No offense.
And it's all you guys. I'm usually the one you have to mute. I'm just sitting back, letting you guys.
Yeah. Feeling kind of ganged up here, A lot of white.
Oh, he said the W word.
All those white eyes.
Oh no.
And it begins.
That's good. He's the one sitting on the sidelines calling us all something. Was it butt ugly or something like that?
You guys all ugly or something. Ugly.
Well, no, you guys said ask us some questions, so I just put in there why you guys so ugly.
We can't help it. Benny was just born that way.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't born this way, but I've had a good time getting there.
Chris is the only handsome one of the bunch, really.
I brushed my hair today one time. Well, I came home with my windows down. It's windy, and I looked pretty bad. Beard was tangled up in my sideburns.
So,
Calvin, you would go riding with us, and me and Brett off in the rough country. You would see why he gets ugly, because he tries to do all kinds of tricks and trapeze artists.
I'm never going to live that down.
I thought it was just that green moonshine that aged real quick.
No, that was a month earlier.
Oh, he still had the effects.
I was out on my new mule just last week, and the first day we went out, I had some problems with her. Then I took a pack mule on one little trip, and we made a big circle. We rode 15 miles, and she did fairly good. And then this last time I went out, and I guess it's just kind of typical for a mule. We got out there and we had a fight. And of course, I lost my pack mule. I lost my lead rope, because you don't want to have a fight with a mule if you got that pack mule dallied pretty hard around the horn. So I had to drop that because she got to spinning around and jumping. And she figured out, I guess, that she couldn't get rid of me. And she locked up tight. I mean, just locked up. And speaking of PETA, I would have probably gotten in trouble if they'd have seen what I had to do to her to get her unlocked.
Some hiker was out there, and you're gonna see Brett fighting a mule.
No, I was out there in the middle of nowhere. And then, if you remember earlier in our conversation today, I was talking about, well, you can't trail a lion across that country. I'm sure they get in there because there's a lot of deer, but I didn't. And then Jeff Allen comes on here and talks about trailing lions through the blow sand.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's calling gravel sand.
I don't know.
Well, you think that decomposed granite holds scent? Or you think,
yes.
I mean, it's hard.
Oh, yeah, like rock, yeah.
Yeah, that's rock. But he did say blow sand.
He said blow sand.
Yeah, and I've never had good luck with it.
But do they have more moisture up in Utah than they have? You know what I mean?
I'm sure they do.
Is there moisture? I mean, if you have a little bit moist sand, right, it'll be a little bit easier. Probably hold if you have a little moisture in the top. This stuff down here, you couldn't do nothing with.
Yeah, far from Arizona border, and if he hunts what did he say? He hunts the
kaibab.
The kaibab. Yeah, it's got like some sand, like
it's pretty
almost sandy.
It's pretty sandy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not that much moisture out there. No, not at all.
I mean, they get snow. They get snow up there. I don't. But that sand, it sucks it down pretty good when it melts out.
The kaibab's on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, right, Calvin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty country. Lot of sagebrush. Lot of sage.
Yeah, every year hunting green.
Known for its big lions.
There is big lions up there, and he's right. Go look at the I-17 when it snows. Choo-choo train of dog boxes.
Oh, yeah. I used to know 4 or 5 guys in Phoenix when I lived down there that every time it snowed, they went to the kaibab.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just perfect because that left nobody on the desert.
There goes Johnny trying to mix up our words.
So have you taken quite a few hunters this year, Calvin?
Yeah, I take 5. Like we talked the last time. I only take 5 every year just to, ensure quality and not quantity type of deal. So, yeah, we was mainly, wanting a certain size cat, so we did pretty good, to be honest with you. And the hunters that I took out this year were more of non-social media type hunters, so they just didn't want to be on social media, so we didn't put anything up.
Mm-hmm. They were like Benny, staying under a rock for years.
I guess, yeah.
Huh. Do you bump in?
What's your average hunt? Oh, you do like 5 days, 7 days, 10 days?
Oh, 5 days.
Yeah.
Pretty successful within a 5-day period.
Yeah, we'll see anywhere between 2 to 3 cats in a 5-day period.
Wow.
And then depending on what or will either be successful or not in punching that tag.
Yeah.
Brett, cool. This is the first time I've ever heard those drums.
Can you hear them?
I can hear them tonight. Can you guys hear those drums? I don't know. Maybe Brett's doing it on purpose for Calvin, trying to make him. There you go. Hey, he started the white joke first.
He's going to get up and start dancing here in a minute.
Oh, man, I hope it's a rain dance. That's all I do. We need some.
Benny's the one with the spear. He might start hopping up and down.
No,
Yeah.
my office is right next to. They teach
Yeah.
music lessons next door, and but the price is right here. So
Brett always says, "You hear those drums?" I said, "I don't hear them tonight." I could hear him.
well, this guy's a pretty aggressive drummer tonight.
He's going. Oh, you know why? Because they got state finals coming up, I think, for all the bands, school bands, and some stuff going on next weekend.
I don't know
Well,
what's
maybe
going
he's
on,
getting
but
ready. Wisconsin, they got big wolves up there in Wisconsin, don't they? The guy said he chases the wolves, coyotes, or us.
Wolf season. Brett is right. Look for a single track and let the dogs go. That's what I've always heard, is that, a single wolf is not, it's not that bad. It's when you have a pack of them. Man, that guy is getting after those drums.
He is getting it tonight.
Uh-huh.
So tell us a good story from this year. You had some bad luck with some dogs too, didn't you, Calvin? Was that this year?
Yeah, we've it was this whole year. It started off with our veteran hunt, taking down, our oldest dog when, dove right off a 20-foot ledge after a mountain lion that had, bailed off the side of the canyon. And then after that, it was 2 dogs got sick on me real bad and over the winter, and they just didn't make it out. And then 2 other dogs we lost to bears during depredation calls. And then just about 2 months ago, we lost another good dog to another mountain lion. They alleged that mountain lion, and took me about, I don't know. This is the same time that I broke the rear end, the third member on the rear axle. So we just left the truck and walked the 2 miles to the edge of the canyon, and they had that cat bait up. And by the time I got there, that cat was pretty agitated already, and the hunter decided, hey, I'll take this cat. And I was like, well, I'm telling you, it's about a little bit less than average sized cat, to be honest with you. Like, no, I'm gonna take it. And I was like, okay. So before that happened, dogs kind of got a little bit closer. Cat grabbed one and pushed it off the side of the canyon, and there went one dog.
Jeez.
And then the guy shot, the hunter shot, and then the cat hit the ground and started sliding, and that cat went off the side of the canyon. So I went down about 30, 40 feet to my right, and sure enough, I looked down and I saw the dog that got thrown off. He was running around down at the bottom, not hurt at all. He had fallen 20 feet down to the next ledge and was able to stay there. The mountain lion was down there as well, dead already, and it was just, one thing after another. By the time I got that crawl down there, the one dog, and I started looking for the guy's mountain lion. The mountain lion had slid off that same ledge that we were on, and down about 300 feet to another ledge, and then that was it. We couldn't get it after. Got the dog back up to the top, and I was trying to look for the other dog, Daisy, and found her. She was tucked underneath of a rock, and the cat either bit her neck or punctured her neck, and she was bleeding from the neck pretty bad. So I did my best to stop the bleeding, and then just packed her out all the way back to the truck. I put her in my pack, and we walked all the way back out, and slowly made it back to the truck. Called for help. They came, picked us up, and we all went back. And she didn't make it back to the house. She was curled up at the bottom in the truck, and that was it. And then after that, we had another one. Lost him to just plain old age. Good old Rico. He didn't make it this past year. So that was my top 5 dogs that in the past year that we've lost.
That's tough.
Yeah.
It's never the bottom crappy dogs.
Yeah, it's never them. Yeah. So now we're back to not necessarily square one, but yeah, we're back to reteaching some pups and back into the learning stages and correcting dogs on chasing what they're not supposed to, I guess.
Yeah, trash.
Yep.
Stimulate.
Trash.
When
I
you're
know a
hunting,
guy who has some dogs for sale right now.
Jeff Allen has some. Did you listen to that?
Yeah, I was listening to that. I was trying to, it's still cold up here. It gets about, I don't know, in the 20s up here. So I had to make sure the firewood and everything was inside before, I had to talk to some, a group of other guys.
You're hunting
You know-
those bluffs like that. Do you have access to like a mountain climbing or those mountain climbers? Or I know Mike Root had some guys come out of Tier C and rappel down into a bluff and get a dog out for him. Have you ever thought of that, or do you have anybody you could contact in case you got in that situation?
No,
That, Rob.
it's off limits to rock climbing. We had some non-Navajos go and do some what is those, cliff jumping.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the winds, when they go into, jump off of certain edges of the certain sides of the canyon, it blows right back into the canyon walls, and that's what had happened. And then they just stopped everything together, from cliff jumping to rock rappelling, and even just doing regular rock climbing. So all of that's off limits down into that canyon.
Well, those guys who cliff jump, then they don't do it very much, do they?
Not no more.
So some of them not at all.
Only takes one accident.
Yeah. Jeez, that's crazy.
I think the guy from Tier C was Robin.
That did the rappelling?
Yeah.
I've thought about that often. I've never had to, do that. But, geez, some of those places you get into, that it's kind of spooky.
I have all the gear. I just haven't done it forever.
Oh, you've done it?
Oh, yeah, for the Pinal County Sheriff's Office.
Man, what haven't you done?
He's done it all.
I can't say it online, but we used to climb. We used to climb up those big power poles, the towers that have look like the Eiffel Tower. We'd get up there about 2 or 3 tiers, and that's how we'd train, and then we'd rappel down off of those. But you get above that second tier, and the static's real bad up there, real bad. When you drag your arm across those metals, you can hear it. Yeah,
I've climbed quite a few water towers. That's what I used to do, is install CP
those
systems
are hard
on them.
Those are hard to come off the top of, because it's just straight down. There's not, and they're usually got a cone on it.
Well, the T-top
those
ones, but sometimes you have those. What do they call them? I forget now what they call them. There's some that you climb up through the inside and then you come out on top. That tube goes all the way through the inside of that tank.
Oh, yeah.
Those landmark structures. But
and then we used to rappel down into the mines too.
Brett, if Chris was climbing those electric towers and it made him feel like he had static electricity in his hair. When you climb those water towers, do you have to go pee?
That's why you carry a pee bottle.
Gatorade bottle.
You do the same thing in that rooftop tent I got. You don't want to, especially if you're an old man, you don't want to have to, if you're an old man, you know what I'm talking about. 2 nightly trips, you don't want to be climbing down that ladder.
Well, Calvin, I saw some of your stuff online on your Facebook page, and the dogs were trailing and all that. I guess that's some of the footage that you showed, but you didn't show a hunter, but you had you were actually out with a hunter?
Yeah. Majority of the time, yeah, I'm pretty much out there with the hunter. Um, unless you see me be the hunter, then yeah, usually I'm by myself, or that it's just they don't want to be filmed. So
You said that you had to go get the firewood and all that. Can you guys still burn coal on the reservation?
yeah, the coal mine. There's I think two coal mining places that are open. One, I'm sorry, is the Navajo mining that's still open on towards Crown Point and on the New
Okay.
Mexico side. So the local chapter houses will give out some tickets for uh, residents to go drive out there and get a couple bags of coal. Yeah.
They shut the big one down, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago. Yeah, they said shut it down. The one
That
near
was the one.
Santa.
Yeah, that was the one that fed the generating
Josie.
station over Navajo generating station at Page.
Oh, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. After that, they shut that down. Then shut down the.
Hmm.
Yep. So I mean, other than that, it's just been out walking around after dogs all the entire time, and just like I said, back to square one, yelling, screaming, controlling, training,
You don't
all
appreciate until they're gone, right?
life.
You don't
All
realize how much
the time, yeah,
you don't realize how much you rely on them older dogs or those good dogs until they're not around. So are
yeah.
some of your younger ones stepping up?
Oh yeah, I got three of them that are doing pretty good. Um, two of them from Oklahoma. One is from Montana, and then the two that I got from southern New Mexico are coming along really well as well. So yeah, I mean we're not hurting, but we're not where we need
You're
to
not.
be to back where we were, I should say.
Yeah.
Are you going out and just cutting tracks and walking them out and trying to help them as much as you can?
Yeah, so I've been going down to a lot of the places where the deer population's high, and I know that there's two, maybe one or two lions that are in the area hunting near where all the winter grounds are is for the deer. So, and I know the bears are still hibernating, so I know that you got either two choices. It's either a cat, it's either a short tail or a long tail. It's one of those two that they're trailing. So, cat's a cat. So, and they're learning.
You don't, and you catch quite a few bobcats out there, don't you?
Yeah, the population for bobcats actually pretty good. I think it's doing a little bit better than mountain lions. So we get lucky from time to time.
We
You
all get lucky.
you still got you got a mule, don't you, or a horse?
We got three of them. We
Mules?
got I got rid of one. We got three mules. I got rid of one, the John mule. He kept on hopping the fence, and he'd hop out of the fence and then hop back in and then hop out, hop back. He was just
He's freebie.
doing whatever he wanted. Yeah, like you know what, New Year, you can't stay around here. So he's gone now. So now I got three Molly mules. Eve. What is the? Oh man, Eve, Crazy, and Molly. That's what it
Uh
is.
oh,
Yeah,
you shouldn't have a mule named Crazy.
He jumped.
Hmm.
that's the one. That's what I was trying to have you pick up. The one that you said you're too tall for.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. How did you get along with your
Nope.
mules? Pretty good. Do you have? I mean,
Oh yeah. Yep, they're good mules. They wait for me at the gate, and they enjoy being around people. So I'm not worried about them. But it's just me that rides them. So um, don't have enough time from retraining the dogs to, like, this past weekend I was out cow hunting in right near the 40 by Chambers all weekend, so that was pretty fun. In the trophy out range, they did a depredation hunt. They had a depredation hunt, and luckily I was the second one to be drawn for that tag. So that's what I was doing. I was chasing around cow elk all weekend.
Well, that's what you've been doing, Chris, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm running that over-the-counter hunt too, depredation hunt. So in this month, it's kind of cool. This month is any elk. April, May, June, July, it's bull only, and then August it's cow only. So I got 6 months to hunt. And it's right out my back door, literally my back door. So
Mine was only 3 days. That's all it was. It was just three. It's a 3-day hunt,
You
and it's in the
successful?
trophy unit.
So
No, I was not successful.
were you north of 40?
Yeah, just north of 40, just right off, like maybe
Yeah, it's like 3
5
miles or something.
Yeah, it was about 3 to 5 miles.
Isn't that on Highway 191?
The old 191, yeah.
Yeah. That thing will beat you to
Yeah.
pieces.
I just had an investigator go up there, and the first thing she said is, "My kidneys hurt."
But if you go a little
there's-
bit farther, go past Chambers a little bit farther, and there's a real good cafe on the side of the road.
I don't know. Why is Benny smiling?
You have to plan your road trips around eating. Otherwise, you can't stay around.
What do you got coming up? Anything
right
fun?
No, just the Navajo Nation Hunt Expo at the end of the middle, the 25th, I believe it was. I gotta look at dates, but other than that, it's just the spring turkey hunt, and then just looking forward to chasing some smelly bears in the springtime here in a little bit, and getting all these 6. Now I got 6 dogs in the kennel.
Will you take some bear hunters, or are you just going to be training dogs?
Oh, so how I do the bear hunts is because it's a lottery draw tag. Everybody wants me to take them. I tell them, hey, put in for the tag. If you get drawn, and then we'll write up the contract. But it's there's only 3 non-Navajo tags for bear. So depending on how many people apply, those are your odds.
You got quite a bit of Navajos up there that hunt bear still, or do hunt bear, I should say.
So it's like 3 non-Navajos and then like 50 Navajo tags. So if the Navajo tags aren't filled, the remaining go into OTC for everybody, even non-Navajos. So after that happens, it goes to first come, first serve, so type of deal. And then they have that a month after the regular lottery draw.
Hey, John should put in for one with those bear hunts so that he could get out of Virginia and go hunt some of those running bears on the Navajo Nation.
Yeah, I should.
He wants to. He wants to get up there and do some lion hunting too.
That's what he should do. He should get a hold of Calvin and go up there and hunt lions this coming year.
Yep. He's uglier than all of us.
No, he's the one that said that he was so much better looking that Calvin couldn't call us ugly if we'd put him up here.
Oh.
Yeah.
As long as he keeps his hat on.
He does have a shiny head.
Yep. So what's that Navajo Expo? Is it you pick up a lot of hunts off that, or what is that?
No,
you have a lot of guides up there you get together.
Yeah, it's just all the guys that are promoting their guiding services, and then you have a couple of vendors that will come in and set up little booths for, homemade turkey calls, and then that's pretty much it. It's kind of like a more educational for the general population, not really to book hunts, but to show what your business can produce, type of deal.
Does Gary, what's his name?
Gary Robinson.
Yeah. So you do a booth up there?
Yeah, he usually just sits in my booth, and then we just sit there and end up talking about any and everything. And then he's usually off, running around kissing babies and all that, taking pictures and signing autographs and stuff. So that's just what
Politicking?
he does. Yeah, and then he's gonna do the coyote calling seminar on that Saturday is when he's gonna be doing that call, and then promoting, of course, his e-collar, so his new
That
e-collar.
that new
That's why
collar
he's
has
there.
some kind of freaky frequency or something like that?
Ultrasonic frequency.
Something.
They're like a
How
dog
about
whistle.
How about the Houndsman XP? I wonder if they'll be out there doing something. Chris.
I've asked him to come out, but like I talked to you a while back. I can't remember what it was, but this expo is mainly geared towards deer, elk, bighorn sheep, and that's pretty much what it's really geared towards. Not really, hound hunting. Not a lot of people do it. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 hound hunters that are actually Navajo that are on the reservation. I'm the only one that lives on the reservation. The other 3 hound hunters live off the reservation. 2 in Farmington. The other one lives in Gallup, and they're Navajo, but they come onto the Navajo reservation to guide. So I mean, it's just more of a deer, elk, and bighorn sheep type of deal. So I mean, like you were saying, to come up and set up a booth for hound hunting. It's interesting, and people will stand there and listen, but they're more interested in elk sheds and mule deer sheds, and trying to reach that 200 on a buck, and then that 400 on a bull. So
It's not going to benefit their business in any way by having a hound deal there.
It's not going to hurt it neither. It's just not going to get as much publicity as it is for elk and deer. So
Is that this month?
yeah, it's on the 23rd and 24th.
At Window Rock?
Yep, Window Rock, Arizona.
Do you get a lot of kickback from some of the old timers as far as doing the bear hunting and picking up? Because you're not supposed to pick up sheds, are you, as a Navajo?
No, you can't. Non-Navajos can't.
Yeah. But you guys have a season for it, right? Or no?
No.
I know the Apaches do.
Yeah, there is no season for it.
So you can pick up anytime.
Yeah. And it's just as long as you're Navajo, you're allowed to do it. If you're non-Navajo, then you can't at all. Like 100%, you cannot.
You'd be surprised how many Apaches are Navajos because they've got sheds in the back of their truck all of a sudden, and they're not supposed to be picking up till a certain date.
March 22nd and 23rd is the expo.
Let's go, Vinny.
Let's see here.
How far is Window Rock from Sholo?
3 hours?
Window Rock from Sholo? No.
Is it more? It takes an hour to get to Holbrook.
An hour?
It's
like 2 hours. 2 hours from Holbrook to Window Rock. Because you get to Holbrook, you just take 40 east until you reach Gallup, and then it's another 30 miles from there. It's 30 miles off the 40 after you reach, what is it? Route 12, I think is what it is that you get off on. Window Rock, yep.
I was going to go look at one of Carl's mules. Carl, what's his name? Chris Boykin?
His real name's Doug. You just put it on Carl.
Carl
he
Doug?
got so much trouble on Facebook. Not even his real name. His real name's Doug. But I think he got kicked off Facebook so many times for being a butthole that he had to change his name. I'm pretty sure that 2.5 hours. It's 2.5 hours to Window Rock from Show, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make me a trip.
But everybody knows him as Carl now.
I asked him when I talked to him on the phone. I said, "Is your real name Doug?" And he said, "No, it's Carl."
He thought you were with the Facebook police.
Maybe I'm backwards then. His real name is, what is it? I swear his name is Doug. He's a liar. That Carl's a liar.
I hope not. I was going to go try one of his mules.
They're supposed to be good mules.
I'm looking. And then Hunter Meekum, he told me that he was going to keep an eye out for me for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think these two that I got that I'm going to get along with them much longer. You know, when you start like this morning, I had some time and I thought, well, I'd go out there and, ride up into the saddle. I could be back by noon. And I dreaded chasing her around, getting her caught, and then having to fight with her. And it just takes all the fun out of it. Benny knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Her head's too small anyway. She has a little tiny head.
This right here. Wow.
She don't pay any attention to me. I mean, she'll bump into you. She'll just walk into you. And I took the end of that lead rope and just whap, say, stay off of me. But it doesn't make any difference to her. And then when she's not scared, she's not mean. She's not going to hurt you. She's not,
no respect.
No respect, exactly. And then, I mean, when I got after her out there, I mean, it's not that she was going to hurt me or anything, but she bounced around a little bit. And
just throwing a fit.
I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of upset me a little bit. I spent a lot of time on a mule. I want a good one.
I had 6 horses and 2 mules, and I'd go out there with my pocket full of little apple treats, and I used to run around barefoot all the time. And
you?
My first wife, she used to say, "How you're not good being out there with those things pushing and shoving?" I said, "Nope. They know they better not get too close to me. I'll whack them."
Barefoot.
I did that. I had some treats in my pocket, and good old Eve, she was kind of curious, and she smelt those treats, and she went for my pocket, and I learned my lesson. She bit my pockets and got a little piece of my skin. After that, I was like, nope, I'm done with the treats in my pocket. Nope.
No matter how nice you are, your reaction is quick.
Yeah.
So, a little backhand.
I mean, I can get them where I catch them. I mean, that's not. It's just a matter of time and working with them. Where they're still going to run around a little bit, but you get them where they stop, they face you, and then they'll even, they'll start stepping towards you. And, but I miss, like, Agnes never was real. I mean, she didn't really like me catching her, but it didn't bother her. She'd just stand there. She knew she'd be caught, and she wasn't going to waste the energy trying to run away from me. But Jet, man, I tell you what, he to this day, he meets me at the gate. I mean, just right there. He's wanting to go. But he, like I said before, he's like an old man. He meets you out the gate, start out in the morning, he'd be really good, and in the afternoon he'd get grumpy. Back his ears and stuff and just get grouchy. Kind of like Benny.
I wonder why.
Did we miss that? We missed that question up there. I think you
Which one?
There. Got an 11-week-old that's trailing up bobcat hide. What can I do to help with her progression?
There you go. Calvin.
Let me just finish off the PETA thing. Get you some good barn lions. Hey, listen. Listen.
Shh, I'm going to mute you.
Here's the loop. I'm gonna get a game warden calling that one, I guarantee it.
I muted you. No one heard what you said.
Good. Probably a good idea.
Just keep going. The best thing you can do for any of those young dogs is just keep going and going and going and going and going.
Do you have any tricks that you do, Calvin, to get your dogs going? That you can say?
I usually have the older dogs tree them, and then after they tree them, I'll pull the older dogs back, and then jump the cat out of the tree, and then let the younger dogs go, and then have them learn that way. They seen it while it was in the tree, they smelt it while it was in the tree, and then now is their job to try and trail it from the tree. And most times they're not even successful. They don't even stay with it for more than 100 yards, but they've seen it, they smelt it, and just keep from there. Just keep on building. Eventually it's gonna turn on like a light switch, and they're gonna be doing it on their own. That's just me, though.
How old do you expect them to be when that light switch comes on?
In a real world, in a perfect world?
Well, I mean, like I used to say that Warner Glenn used to say that, well, if they're not starting to help by 2 years old, then you might not think about keeping them. How about you, Benny?
Yeah, I've had one start at as 8-9 months, and then I've had another one start just a month or two after 2 years. But yeah, my cutoff date's about 2 years. That's about my threshold for keeping a dog around is about 2 years. After 2 years, if they're not able to assist the pack in any way, it's time to cut bait.
Benny?
I guess it just depends on the circumstances for me, because every dog's an individual. What's been going on, and did I do something that could have slowed them down or backed them up to it? And you get some other dogs too. Your dogs can be bullies. They can pick on one young dog and bully that dog, and that can set them back a little bit too. I don't know. I know as far as getting those dogs fired up on a bobcat, I did a deal one time and it worked for a little while. I caught a bobcat in a trap and I released him, and I had 8 pups right there with him, and I had him by his tail and I was dragging him backwards. He was hanging on for his dear life trying to fight with those pups and still go, and I was dragging him backwards. And then all of a sudden those pups just turned it off and decided to go do something else, and that cat attacked me. So the dogs were fired up for listening, but to that I was fired up.
Chris, how long will you give a dog?
I think if you're really paying attention to dogs and you raise them from a pup, you're going to kind of know. But I'm kind of with, but you hear these stories at 3 years old, they blow up, so, and I know I've ruined a lot of dogs by getting rid of them too early. And I think back, I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have, but I think you just tend to teach yourself later on. You kind of learn from your mistakes. But he has an 11-week-old pup, so if it's already trailing around a little skin he got, he just needs to make that trail a little longer and a little lighter. And I always kind of like, who came up with that? Was it Leonard, who said put a paint roller on the end of a stick
I did that.
I did that too, and I really liked it because you can kind of spread it out where they have to look for the next track. I think a lot of people spray that sin on there and they drag that wet, which is what you do in the beginning when I start mine at like 4 weeks old though. I play with them with a little stuffed animal, spray a little sin on them. By the time they're 8 weeks old, they're like playing. But I think a lot of people get it soaking wet, drag it, and they think they got a trail dog, but you really need to lighten it up to where they have to work and start trailing. I think that's what a lot of, like right now he has it trailing a bobcat pelt, so make it a little longer trail, until I think, and then make it a little bit lighter trail. I've seen guys take, this is on videos a long time ago, where they took coons or cats and put them in a pillowcase and walked along and then touched the ground every once in a while with a pillowcase. I've seen guys take cats and dunk them in a thing of water and let those cats go, and then they let their dogs chase them in the beginning. This is all old school stuff, and then they'd let the cats go the next time, after they ran a few, and they'd let them go and then come back in 30 minutes, see if the dogs would trail it. And then they let them go and come back in an hour, to where they could go get a cat, let it go, and come back in a couple hours, and them dogs will try to trail it. I think you got to make it harder and harder. And a lot of people just soak it real good in that drag, and they drag it, and the little pups drag, going along real good. But I think you got to really make it hard. And I think if you really pay attention to your dogs, and this is where I talk about the kids who just buy dogs. If you're just out buying made dogs, you're not going to learn how to handle a hound. I think you have to get a puppy at one point in your life and raise it and watch it and teach it, and you're going to learn if it's a good or bad dog. And it's going to take you a lot of dogs. I mean, how many dogs have you guys been through, that you
I don't even like to talk
I
about
know.
it. How about your little stinker dog? I know he'll chase that pet house cat that you got, but does he trail that house cat?
All day long at my job site.
He
I have a
trails it.
trash can, and the cats get into there. She goes straight to the trash can, probably tries to dig food out of it first, and then she'll start trailing off of that trash can, and I'll catch them cat tracks over by the wall. And she knows where they hide out. I've seen her over there, and I heard her get crazy before I look over, and she'll run cats out of. We got a steel building just piled up right now before, in a package, and cats hide under there, and she'll run around there, and then you'll hear her go off because she'll try to crawl under and she'll chase them cats out. So she's doing really good just on her own.
When she's just trailing them, does she open up at all?
Not till she gets to where they are.
Jumped.
Like she'll bark a little bit, but then she'll get to where she knows they're in the pipes or somewhere, and she'll start getting crazy and barking. So she's doing really good, So
I used to have a big old house cat that hung around the place, and I'd put him in a trap, and I'd take him out there to a mesquite, and I'd hang him up in the mesquite just in the trap, and then I'd take the puppies for a walk and just let them locate, and when we'd take off, I'd say, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Pretty soon, you do that about 3 times, 4 times, then they're out there looking for him. And then I'd take him out where I knew the cat could get away, and I let him run him a little bit because he was like a pet. He didn't care. Pretty soon he got where he wouldn't even leave the buggy. He'd jump up on top of the buggy and just sit there and look at me like, what are you doing with these dogs? But I got where, and I did that thing, that Mike Leonard train thing where you would start at the end and come back because because the theory was that the scent was stronger so you don't want to teach your hounds to run it backwards. But I don't know. I'm sometimes I think a lot of those things that you do might instill some bad things in the dogs.
Well, 100% though, there's nothing better than game, period.
Yeah.
You can drag all day long, but once you get them under something, usually you'll see, if you can get them under a tree or two, I think right away if that dog's going to be a good dog, especially if you're killing something out of a tree. If you get to kill something out of a tree, we've talked about that before. as far as not shooting it out of the tree and if it hurts them or don't hurt them. But
some of
you get
that
them on some game,
that
they're
that
good.
trailing and that, especially I think the cold trailing is such a natural thing with some dogs that
Yeah.
it's hard. You can't just hardly train that into them. I think it's born. What do you think, Benny? I mean, because I've seen so many that just they're born that way and they just want a cold trail. I mean, they want a trail.
That's just the dogs. That yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. That's who they are, and that's where you follow different lines and different people for what you're looking for. You know, um, I wonder sometimes putting a date on how long you give a dog a chance. Like I said, they're individuals, and you got to know your dogs. Um, but Larry Hendricks had a dog that had, well, it was Dora before I bought her. Um, she had 10 pups one time, and he said, I got too many pups. Why don't you take one of these pups? So I picked a pup out, and he says, pick one out for Wesley, too, that buddy of mine over there at Logan, up by Mascaro. And so I gave that pup to Wesley. He called him Bandit, and I had a litter mate that I called Tough. Wesley called me, and his dogs had caught a big old mean Tom lion in a crack, and the lion was in a way so that when the dogs went down in there, they were sliding down into that crack, and that lion was straddling that crack down in the place. It was on a ledge, and it was just eating those dogs up. And all of his dogs were pretty beat up and cut up and bit up. And he said, and he shot the lion, and the lion went back in a hole, and he couldn't get to him. So he cast me, and I was there the next morning. We never did find the lion. Um, but I was climbing down through that bluff, and Wesley said, where'd you go? And I hollered, I'm down here. And he looked over the edge, and I was down off of that bluff climbing around in there. And my tough dog was with me. And he said, your dog is right there digging around with you, trying to do something. And his litter mate, Bandit, he doesn't even give a rip what's going on. He says, what's the difference? And I said, I don't know. And Wesley was really disgusted with Bandit. And Bandit was probably 3 years old before he turned on, and he turned on an instant like a light switch. The bus driver up there told Wesley that morning a lion ran across the road in front of the bus, and he thought that he clipped the lion. Wesley had to work cows all day, and he couldn't get there until after dark. And he went over there looking around with a flashlight, and the dogs went to trailing, and Bandit was just hanging around with Wesley. And that he got into a little brush thicket, and that lion was laid out on its side flat, and the dogs were in there baying and carrying on. And Wesley thought the lion was dead, so he wades in there and grabs the lion by the tail, gonna drag it out there for the dogs to wool it around. Well, the lion just was in a real nice sleep. And that lion turned around and got on Wes, and Bandit was right there with him. And Bandit jumped on that lion and started fighting with that lion, Mortal Kombat. And from that day until Bandit got old and died, he was a lion dog. So there's different circumstances for every dog, and I always thought what Henry McIntyre told you, Brett, that that dog might not be doing anything right, but it's not doing anything wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it's always been my problem is I don't show my dogs enough lions. So what I have to do is I just got to keep my dogs trailing. I mean, I got to keep them working and trailing, and as long as they're cold trailing and I know they're trailing a lion, then I'm pretty happy. Because I don't get in good enough country. Every year I have plans, but for the last 6 years or 5 years I haven't been able to do it. But
Was one other thing that was odd about that Bandit dog. When he was a yearling, he treed 4 bobcat kittens in the tree right there in their front yard in the ranch. Inside the fence, Wesley wakes up with that pup raising cane, and he goes out there, and there's a bunch of bobcat kittens in that tree, and that dog's treeing on them. But when it came to messing around with those lions, that dog didn't show any interest. He was more, he'd go out there and he'd run feral hogs that were running up and down the Ute Creek right there. And, he wanted to run everything except what Wesley wanted him to. And so he wasn't really helping anything at all. And he was getting on Wesley's nerves until Wesley pulled that lion by the tail.
Yeah. I don't know. They come up with all like this Roy Carvalho method. There's a podcast on Houndsman XP is basically scent imprint pups, scent trails only using their nose, not their eyes. Food is reward at the end of the trail.
For one, Roy, you're not allowed to listen to Houndsman XP. You only us.
No, I think, it might help, but I think if you got to go too much trouble, maybe you better get into a better line of dogs.
I start mine really early. I start mine really early, like 4 weeks old, but I'm raising my own litters. I bring them in the house. I got kids. They handle them, so they're handled. They bring them in the house. I drag hot dogs across my floor, and that's how they start using their nose. And then I don't know, is that similar to the Carvajal method as well? And then they're running loose. I let them run feral in my yard till they're 4, 5, 6 months old. And I open the door and I throw stuff out in the yard and I say, whoop. And for one, it gets them to come to you with that noise. And they know they have to use their nose. So it's a competition when you got 4 to 6 dogs out there in the front yard trying to find something. And then I always start with some little drags, nothing big. But then I got older dogs now, and you just kind of dump them with the older dogs. And
that's
the easy way. But if you're by yourself, Sonny, you just got to keep going.
Calvin, do you raise any pups?
Every now and then, but not too often. I really don't. Kind of have a problem with trying to figure out where to place them or, house them. So I really don't raise that many pups, to be honest with you.
So
I love raising pups.
Do you get when you get a dog from somewhere? Is it like an 8-week-old pup or a 5-week-old pup, or is it a year-old pup, or what do you typically get?
It's usually about an 8-week or older dog. But yeah, it's got to be 8 weeks or older.
How do you pick it? If you're going to go over and pick out of a litter, how do you pick it? Do you have anything you look for? See, that's where I'm spoiled because I got dogs running around and I can watch them all day long, and I know what they're doing or which one's doing what. To go pick one out of a litter, everybody has their little.
Yeah, I got you. So majority of the time, I just let my kids pick. My daughter or my son, they'll go and they'll pick for me. I don't really, it's either like you guys said, it's not the puppy. It's 60-40, 60 dog, 40 handler. If you got a good handler, the dogs will eventually come to and learn and do what it's supposed to. That's my opinion, but I know, other people are really big on genetics, and from my experiences, it being this small in our community, like Benny over here, he's really big on the pedigree. But from my experience, from being this huge to this right here, for me, not all dogs from a litter are going to make it as successful hound dogs. You are going to have some duds. That's just me. That's just my experience. Now, somebody like Benny or Brett up here, Mr. Lorex, or even or even Chris up in the corner.
He was thinking of a good name to call me, is what he was thinking of. It's
was like,
coming.
oh, yeah, I can't.
It's
But
coming.
yeah, you guys have more experience on that than I do. You guys handle dogs a lot more than me. I take you guys' advice and try to add it on to what I know. But just for me, not all dogs make it, but it's mainly the handler and how you train the dogs. And so far, I've been okay, but yeah, I do. I've had one. I've got one right now that's over 2 years. I got him as a pup, and he's over 2 years, and he won't. And he's a pack dog. He won't trail out on his own. He won't open, but he's a great pack dog. I mean, the lead dogs will start trailing, opening, and he'll be right there. He'll offer support and just be right there with all of them. And that's what you need. You can't all have superstars. You need to have backups. You need to have you know it takes all three to four different types of dogs to make a good team. It's just you gotta have your hot nose, your cold nose, your warm nose, in my opinion. I mean, you have your cold nose to trail and warm it up, and then you got your medium nose to push it a little faster, get it jump, and then that's when you want to kind of throw in your hot nose to get it into the tree. And it's kind of hard sometimes to have that. I mean, I had one dog, the one that just died, the one that got punctured in the lung, in the throat by that cat. Her name was Daisy. She was an awesome dog. She started young. I'd probably say about 13, 14 weeks, she was already trailing mountain lions. A small little dog, just, opening trailing mountain lions. She would make it to the tree first, and every single race, she was there at the tree first. She'd put the cat into the tree. But she would not open when she's trailing. She'd be dead silent, just moving the track until she gets it jumped. Then she's, screaming at the top of her lungs, trailing. And that's what made it great to have her when we were trailing bobcats, because you would cut her loose and she would just trail quietly until she was able to get that bobcat jump and then open. And it was not even that long, maybe like 2-3 minutes later, she'd have the bobcat treed, and the rest of the pack and then the cold trailing dogs would finally get to the tree. Now if you have cold trailing dogs that trail bobcats all day, the bobcat hears the cold trailing dogs that aren't pushing the track that fast, and that bobcat will stay in front of the track in front of the dogs the entire time. Sometimes the cold trailing dogs won't catch up. That's where medium nose dogs, warm nose dogs will come in handy, and then your hot nose, they'll push the track a little bit faster. But there are some dogs that I've seen that can do all three: cold nose to warm nose to hot nose, and it's just gotta
That's,
pick your poison, I guess.
I mean, like you're talking about, that dog is what Cody, bobcat hunter down south would call a jump dog. I mean, you got your cold trail dogs that are working the track out, and then you got a jump dog. And the thing, being down there with John Clump, I noticed that what was amazing to me is he had really only had one dog that was cold trailing, and that dog was trying to, but those other dogs, I swear, Benny attests to this. He had like 4 or 5 dogs, Benny, that were actually out there looking for that lion. I mean, they were looking in cracks and holes on that bluff, that big old canyon. And I asked John, I said, what are they doing? And he acted like I was stupid. Well, they're looking for that lion. Like, what do you think they're doing? But they were out there, instead of just, honoring the dog that was trying to cold trail. These dogs knew there was a lion out there somewhere, and they were out there looking. I mean, absolutely looking for the lion. And I thought, wow, that's what I've been missing.
They'd get there in those high bluffs, and they'd be on the top, then they'd be on the bottom, they'd be somewhere in the middle, they'd be around the edge. And it's like, good grief, how do you keep track of those dogs?
He had one, and that one looked like a Labrador retriever.
What? Sonny don't like me. What the hell?
I really wish.
What'd you do to Sonny?
I don't know. What'd I
Bite me.
say?
Just saying.
What'd I do?
That's as bad as being called ugly. We're going to have to get him on the show.
Yeah. Another
wish,
fan open.
I really wish that I still had dogs, because I'd give you 2 pups just to see if there was any difference. But it's easy to say because I don't have any, but I absolutely would.
He's got a couple now that goes right back to your stuff.
Yeah.
Right back to old Jazz.
You got to watch out.
Jazz is on her last leg. She's not doing very good.
She's old.
Yeah, she's real old. But
she's probably the last of those dogs that's still alive.
Well, see, her pups are Uno, Al, and Timmy, and they're out of Booger. No, they're out of Soul. No. They're out of Booger.
Yeah.
And then I got one right now, a pup that it would take a ton of money for me. She's the trailingest, fastest, and I haven't even had her on anything good yet, but she's amazing. She's trashy as they come, but man, can she run trash. It's amazing.
My Clyde dog, John Fry, gave me 2 of those high tan dogs, litter mates, a male and a female. He named them Bonnie and Clyde. And Bonnie was the more aggressive out of the 2, and she died here at the house. They just ran. I've always just let everything run loose and act wild till they got a certain age and started getting into trouble. But I came home and Clyde came running up to meet me, just little bitty pups. And I couldn't find Bonnie anywhere. And I looked around and I had a cattle panel leaned up against the barn, the hay barn. And I guess she had chased one of my house cats in the barn. And then when the house cat came out, she was too big to fit through those bottom rungs, those bottom slats. So she could squeeze through when it was leaned against the building, and coming back, she pushed and shoved until she pushed it over on herself and it killed her. But Clyde, he was a trashy little pig. Me and Mike Leonard, Missy, her name was Holmes at the time, and Cole Studdard, we were over there, I don't remember, somewhere over on that Lobo ranch that Missy was working on. And some deer jumped out of the bushes right there by. Clyde was just a little bitty pup. And he started cold trailing those deer. And I thought, man, that's the coolest thing. And I just let him go. He didn't go anywhere. And, later in life, I'd turn a dog loose, an adult dog, and Clyde took off, and some guys called me. They were 8 miles north of me, and they said, "Hey, we got your dog here. We'll bring it to you. Where do you live?" And I told them, and they had to go clear out to Roswell and come around it took them an hour and a half to get here. And he said they were deer hunting, and they heard this hound out there carrying on, trailing around. So they went and got him, and they took him over and put it on that. They shot a deer, but it ran off, so they put him on that deer track, and he trailed that deer for them until he found it laying there dead. So he retrieved their deer. I was kind of proud of him and pissed at the same time, because by that time he was 4 years old. There's no call for that. But
I went out.
Clyde, he was so hardcore lion hunting dog too, and a tree dog. Oh my gosh! So you just never know.
My nephew shot a nice buck with his bow here. I think it was last year, and then they couldn't find it, and called me, and I told him, I said, let's see if we can find it. And I took the dogs out there, and I took some young dogs too, and they trailed that blood. Trailed that blood trail. Now, old Booger kept looking at me like, man,
Why haven't
this
you shot
this
me?
is no good. This is no good. But pretty soon,
You think,
they read
guys,
you. Those dogs read you, and they trailed. But you should have seen them when they found the dead deer. It was almost like their collar was shocking them. They found, and it was like, oh my gosh! And I never will
They were
forget
waiting
old
for it.
Booger just looking at me like, what the hell is going on here? But we found the deer.
I have a question for you guys. What do you guys know, or have you tried the Super Dog program,
What's that?
the neurological stimulating program for puppies?
I was going to say maybe I need it.
I've been reading. I've been reading. You do this the first. I've been reading on. It's like you do it to the first 14 days, starting from day 5. I think it was, for the first 14 days to the puppy. So, and what this little thing does, it promotes, improve cardiovascular performance. It improves their heart rate, stronger heartbeats, stronger adrenal glands, more tolerance to stress, and greater resistance to diseases.
What?
I mean, I saw it one day and I was just reading on it. I just wanted to know if you guys knew if you heard or seen anybody do it.
What do you do? What is it?
So you take the puppy and you, in between their paws, you stick your hands in between your finger in between their paws to stretch out the puppy, and activate the nerves. And what you're doing is, getting that puppy to react and understand, to stimulate all the nerves inside of its paw. And then you take the puppy after that and you raise it straight up, down, and then you point it upside down. Then it's on its spine to give it all that stress and to build the heart rate up as a puppy. And then you take the puppy after that and you put the puppy on a wet cloth or an ice pack for 15 seconds, just to shock the body, to be able for the body to get stronger. And I was just wondering if you guys knew anything about it or heard anybody.
That sounds like a lot of work.
I wonder if it's having to do with that same woman that was reading about the petroglyphs.
When I inherited that kennel, it was called Caring Heart Airedales, and the guy who had the kennel, his name was Dr. Barber. And of course, I inherited all these dogs. I had like 20 something Airedales and had like, I don't know, had some different, that were older that were going to be breeding dogs and this and that. I mean, he had this big elaborate program. Well, he had a heart attack and he couldn't take care of them, and he was going to have them all put to sleep. And so I took them, but I had to start selling dogs, and he had this program where they tested all these dogs, these puppies, and you graded them. They would be an A or a B or a C pup, and depending on how they reacted to being turned over on their back and different things like that, we would do to expose them. And it was crazy. It was a really crazy time in my life. It was with my first wife, and for us to make it, I mean, I had to sell pups. She would groom them. I boarded them. I had a little boarding facility that we'd bring them in, and it was like it kind of felt bad because it was like a gimmick. They buy one of these pups from us, and they pay a lot of money for them, and then you had lifetime grooming and lifetime boarding of the dogs, but you accepted tips. So typically these people that bought these dogs were real wealthy people anyway. So they would they would leave really, really good tips and really, really, so you weren't charging them anything outright, but they tip so well. And I even trained dogs for people. I even took in a German Shepherd and trained it for a lady. Never will forget. She said, "Well, I can't keep this dog and every time I open the door, he'll knock me down getting out." I said, "Well, I can fix that." I put a choke chain on that sucker and a 20-foot lead rope, and I'd open that door and she'd run out and I'd run the other direction. Wham! About 3 times that dog did a double back flip. After that, you'd open that door and that dog would just look at you like, "Where are you going?" But those were days with my first wife.
Missy was talking about it. So she learned it in the Army. That thing that Calvin's talking about.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
To get her on.
I was reading more on it just now. It says the U.S. military in their canine program developed a method that still serves as a guide to what works. In the effort to improve the performance of dogs used in military purposes, the program called Biosensor was developed. Later, it became known to the public as the Super Dog Program. Based on years of research, the military learned that early neurological stimulation exercises could have important and lasting effects. Their studies confirm that there are specific time periods early in the life when neurological stimulations has optimum results. The first period involves a window of specific time periods early in life when neurological stimulations are. Shoot, I just read that part. Sorry. The first period involves a window of time that begins at the 3rd day of life and lasts until the 16th day.
I don't know if I'm more impressed with that system or that Calvin can read.
He's a pretty good reader.
I know.
Hey, that's public school learning for you. But no, I mean, I heard it on what is it? On Houndsman XP that one day, and then I heard it on. There was another one. What was it?
Was it
I forgot this.
Was it Hound?
So
the hunting hound?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and they were talking about it, and I just want to know from y'all's experience.
I don't do that, but I can tell you when I go home, because I have 10 dogs down where I'm at now, and I still got, I don't know, 5 or 7 or 8 dogs at home. The difference and my dogs right now, I just stay in a trailer behind my dad's when I'm working down here, and they're all around my trailer. So every day I have interaction with my dogs here. And when you have just interaction with your dogs, where you pet them every day, just talk to them like humans, I guess, because I have no friends down here. It's just my dog. They act way different. When I go home, I can tell the difference. They get a little wilder until I start petting them and letting them know I'm around. When I'm gone all weekend, I was gone for 3 days this weekend. I get here, they get crazy excited. So I could see like the interaction touching your dogs is probably. I tell the difference when I'm not the dogs that I don't have with me than the dogs I do have with me. And Stinker's with me 24/7. And if you could probably raise a hound 24/7, like I got that little dog, they'd probably be super good dogs with manners that are out of control. Like she'll stay in my truck unless I tell her to get out, because it's 100% that dog. So I think a lot of problem is people get too many dogs at once. I think if you got a dog and trained it and then got another dog and trained it one at a time, but you hear it all the time that people get puppy rich, and trying to train 5, 6 dogs at a time is tough.
Yeah.
So I could see that minute little touching and those little techniques probably bond you more with your dog. Unlike the old ways I was taught, spit in their mouth, and they'll be your dog. They'll love you.
I go out. I mean, whether I go out and every day I walk to every dog's pen and I call them by name and stick my hand in the pen and let them smell me and I rub their nose and I mean, every single dog, I do that every day. And it's just a way of me checking on my dogs. And, of course, I try to, I take my dogs out. I mean, constantly. We might not be hunting, but we just go. We go out and go places and go to the desert and ride around and do whatever. But it's I mean, they all know to get in their pen. They all come when they're called. Just simple stuff.
It's all about boots on the ground. You know what I mean? If you're like these snow hunters who go out maybe twice a year or 3 times a year, I don't I don't like hunting with somebody with bad dogs. I don't care that they're trashy or whatever, but the manners. Oh, I hate unmannered dogs. Drives me crazy. My dogs ain't perfect, but I've been around some people that I won't even go around again because their dogs are just they'll jump out of the dog box. When I met my wife now before I knew her, and
Which
which
wife was this? How many was it number?
This is
4?
number 3. I'm not like Benny and his your little one wife, boring. And Andy was.
I'm just
6
one
months
behind
older.
you.
Yep.
Sorry.
And
I'm
he
with
jumped
Benny.
out of the
I'm with
truck.
Benny.
And he jumped out of the truck, and I grabbed him up, and I threw him back in my dog box through the hole he came out of. And I beat that dog in the butt, punched him in the butt until that dog was all the way in there. And my poor wife, she didn't know me. I was just delivering a tractor tire to a person she was with. And this guy saw me beating that dog in the butt. And of course, he was trying to impress her maybe. And he's like, I go whoop that guy's ass. But she got with me later, and I had whooped on a dog for turning around and biting me. It was a young pup, and I had grabbed it to put it in the truck, and it turned around and bit me. And same thing, punched that dog in the butt till it got and she got mad about it. And I said, well, if that was we had 2-year-old kids at the time. And I said, if that was that kid that reached down and grabbed that dog and it bit him, you'd be angry. And she understood at that point why sometimes you have to be a little rough on the training, which is opposite of what we were talking about, the minute touches and give him a massage. But, it works both ways.
Well, yeah, you have to.
They got to have manners, though.
Establish your dominance.
Mm-hmm.
In today's world, you can't be whacking on your dog like that openly. So you passed the parts. You had an opportunity. You could have bit the hell out of your new wife and said, "There, now do you feel better?"
Yeah. There goes Calvin.
We lost Calvin.
Yeah.
He's still there, but he's dark. Somebody turned off the lights. Did you not pay the electric bill?
Someone tried to call him.
My son tried calling me, so I had to hang up on him.
Oh. Well, guys, we've done it again.
3 hours.
3 hours.
We just can't do it in an hour.
We're giving Joe Rogan a run for his money.
Mm-hmm.
All we need to do is sit around and drink and smoke pot and drop F-bombs, and we'd be right there with him.
It's legal. Hey, Calvin, is marijuana legal on the res?
No, that and alcohol is not even legal on the res.
Oh, wow.
I know. When I was working over there, and I'd give those guys a ride, just as soon as we got off the res, there'd be a store, and they always wanted to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alcohol is illegal here at the reservation. So is marijuana. So is white people. No, I'm just kidding.
just bald-headed white people.
Yeah, with beards.
My white eyes, I'm safe.
I've seen those. So I had that scrapyard in Holbrook. So I got a lot of natives. I knew a lot of natives off the res there, but they used to take those water bottles and fill them full of vodka and put them back in the wrapper. I've seen them do that.
Oh, wow.
Go on the res. Yeah. Yeah.
I had guys that worked for me. They weren't on the res that did that. I mean, they would welders. Man, those welders were terrible.
Oh, welder! You can't trust a welder.
No. Nope, absolutely not.
All they do is lay on their back and ask for more. I shouldn't say that
More
on here, I
rocks.
guess.
Just say whatever you want.
It's
Hey,
late in the
Yeah.
podcast. We still
Yeah.
got 74 people in here, so
Yeah, we got Benny, so we can talk whatever we want. We need to get Missy on.
yeah,
She was on Hound on the Run.
I know. We'll send her a.
Yeah. I listened to that podcast. It was good.
Yep.
Well, she's got beagles, right?
Beagles, and
Yep.
she's like military canine stuff. That'd be kind of interesting.
We'll schedule her.
I just
We'll
sent her some soap. She got soap.
We'll get her a link and get her on here. And
I think he's saying she has to clean herself up before she can come on.
Yeah, this ain't Houndsman XP. You don't just come on here dirty.
yeah,
Hey,
we
that's
have
Besides
we have
Benny.
rules.
I didn't know.
Well, we got a bunch of welders in here.
John Polly. Oh, we're infiltrated.
Man, it's hard to insult anybody.
Yep.
Anything else, guys? Anything else we need to talk about? I didn't run any sponsorship. I'm about to give up on sponsors. I'm just thinking that I'm not worthy.
Man, I'm telling you, when I was in radio, that was the hardest part. I could get guests all day long, but God, sponsors. And I even had a good-looking girl with big boobs running around, and it was still tough to get sponsors.
We, I just was looking for Onyx. They're the best.
You should at least play that.
They looked at my, I'll just say, if you guys like the show and like what we do and like for all these interviews, Onyx is the real deal, because they contacted me because I had an agreement with them for 6 months, and then they contacted me, real professional. They sent a deal to get on a online call like we are, and I talked to a guy named Jared Larson, real nice guy, and we went over everything, and instead of just not considering a lot of stuff, he looked at my other channel. He looked and said, I can't believe how many views you're getting on this channel, because I'm getting like 300,000 people looking at my videos a month. And then on this channel, the Dale Lee's got 10 of the Dale Lee's got like 175,000 views. And he said, we want to sign you for 2 years. He said, we're going to send you an agreement proposal, and if you'll agree to a 2-year agreement. And I said, sure. So they sent me a proposal, and I looked at it, and I said, wow, guys, thank you. So
now your wife can't stop you because you have to go out and
Born
do it.
Born 100.
Did you? Yeah, they said that they had I forget, they had a formula they used for everyone who used the code. I get a little money from that too, Calvin. Thank you. And they say for everyone who uses the code, it's like 5 more that have didn't use the code, but found out about the Onyx maps through my whatever, through these deals that we do here. And they were really impressed. They said it was working. So, of course, I run it on my Born 100 Years Too Late channel also. But they're super good, professional. And some other people that I've talked to about, and I thought I had a deal. I really did. And it fell through at the last minute. They just decided they'd do things with other people. So, which is all right. It just happens.
Marketing's a cutthroat business.
I guess so. I really believe that a lot of these companies just don't understand the influence that YouTube has and how YouTube works. I mean, people will pay Facebook to run an advertisement, and the reason being is that they'll Facebook puts that advertisement in front of a certain demographic. You say what your interest is hounds and whatever, nutrition or whatever it is, and Facebook puts that ad in front of those kind of people. But what they don't understand is the way the YouTube algorithm works is if we sit here and we talk about hounds and we talk about, hunting or whatever, then the YouTube AI knows exactly what this channel is about. So when other people get on and they look at whatever other hound interesting YouTube videos or whatever, then they just start suggesting and putting that content in front of them, and it works the same way, but it works for in a better or a larger scale, I guess I should say, because every person they put it in front of Facebook, they charge so much money. This, you could pay somebody to run your advertisement on your video, and they make a good video. Gets like that's what happened with Onyx. I did that one video; it got 450,000 views, and that's putting their name in front of a lot of people.
But isn't it Daryl Eves, big YouTube guy, that said if you gave him the amount of money they paid for a Super Bowl ad, he could change the world, basically?
Yeah, Daryl. That's who consults.
He would get more people to watch it than the people who watched the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yep. But a lot of people, old school people, don't understand how YouTube works. They still think it's cat videos and silly stuff. Benny.
That's all Benny watches. He watches the cucumber and the cat videos.
And these deals like we do here, it's not a big deal to me. I enjoy the heck out of, having like Benny here and Calvin coming on here and everything, and us just sitting around talking. It's just like we're I need to get a little campfire thing to go right there in the middle of us, because that's kind of what I like. I enjoy the heck out of it. Mm-hmm. But my sit down interviews where I go and sit down and travel and talk to somebody, that's a little different story. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to do more of those, but it's hard. But
it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap.
No.
Traveling.
Remember, we were talking about meeting up somewhere and doing something. Talking nothing but hounds and just getting together.
Mm-hmm.
That thing that you host every year there, Chris, would be awesome to get together at your Arizona. What is it? The ACCCS or
that's not me.
Your hound trials now.
Oh, you're talking. The one, yeah.
The one to go to.
The Central Arizona Trail Hound Association. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, that'd be a one to go down there and just do all kinds of interviews and talk with people.
That'd be cool. You got the Randalls down there, and I mean, you got a lot of people that actually go down there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been meaning to go, but every time I plan to go, we get short staffed, and then I get the shaft, and I can't make it down. So for past 4 or 5 years, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go, and it just hasn't happened that way.
It's a great thing to take your kids to, because they kind of party at night. Like I get on Amazon and I buy a bunch of glow sticks, the green ones, and that's how they run around the forest and they throw them all over the place. So they run around all night. They play all night, and then they catch crawdads when we go to the water race. They run their dogs. So they have a good time.
Yeah, I think that would be a perfect place to do something like that. I mean,
that'd be fun. That's one thing I would like to do. I would like to find some more of these, things like that to go to, just to hang out and see people. I don't ever do anything like that.
What Brett's trying to say is he can hang out. He's like a celebrity. They'd be all crowded around him.
I just
set up a booth over there.
Yeah, like I'll bring 4 or 5 extra pins just in case I run out of ink.
Well,
I'll get some headshots, posters made so you can sign them.
No,
hey, have a big old
Benny, did you
board outside? If you'd
have got a picture of him tumbling off that horse, that'd have been a great one to sign. Just his boots. You just see one boot.
my hat down there and the horse with the saddle over her neck and my boot laying on the ground.
I was just in awe that he could actually do that level of cartwheeling and somersaults and all of that, and still keep one boot on.
Yep. And then get up the next morning feeling like he was 20 years old.
Oh, he was bragging.
I couldn't believe it. I told Benny, I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to hunt tomorrow. I'm going to be too sore. And I got up the next morning. I felt better than I did the morning before.
I would have thrown a towel and crawled underneath the bed and said, I'm done.
That day I kind of hurt coming down out of there. But 3 ibuprofen and a shot of whiskey, I felt pretty good the next morning. But I don't know. What my grandpa always said, where there's no sense, there's no feeling. So
Back.
Onward and upward.
Onward and upward, guys. Yes, sir.
That's it.
Anything else? Any closing statements from the peanut gallery there?
We'll be back.
Calvin, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Anytime you feel like you need something to say, holler at us in the chat and I'll send you a link.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Benny, as always, thanks for your contribution. And Chris, my partner in crime, he helps me a lot. Chris, the one that lined up Jeff Allen. And he's always, he gets around. He talks to everybody and everything. I don't talk to nobody.
Man, I had about 5 calls right now. One of them's my investigator. Like a bunch of stuff going on. I got a bunch of cases going on. So.
Cool. Guys, thank you very much. Everybody that's commented, all these thumbs up, 54 thumbs up. We need to get that up around 100 though.
Yeah.
So
share it. People got to share it. Just share it.
Do what, Benny?
Do it twice.
I don't know. Are you allowed to do a thumbs up twice?
I think it only gives you one. But hey, go create another account and turn it on too and give it a thumbs up.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Next
See
Monday.
you. Good night.
Yep.
Talk to you later.